Is there like a log of? I just want to see some of these leaked.
You're talking about the leaked texts and stuff like that. Yeah, they were released in court filings. I think piecemeal. I don't even think it was in just one filing until later on.
Yes, but yeah. there's a whole thing. Sorry, keep going. I'm gonna find this.
No, yeah, I mean they were absolutely damning, and that's another thing too.
No, wait, hold on. I'm so sorry. Just because you're underselling everything. Pisco's been underselling everything. I've been underselling everything. Okay. We've all been underselling everything, okay? They're not damning, okay? These are beyond dead to rights, okay? If you ever get bored, all right, you should go through, I don't know who the attorneys that they hired for this, bro. This is, have you ever heard of like, for instance, like, have you heard of the Brain Room?
The Brain Room? No.
Fox News, they have an entire fact-checking department that works really hard. Every single exec at Fox News and every single host at Fox News knew that they were spreading bullshit. Mm-hmm. They knew that they were spreading lies. They were admitting all of it in the background, but they were also admitting that we're losing our viewers to Newsmax. We have to have them on. Right. We've got to bring these people on. Meanwhile, like all of them are saying shit like, what was it? There was one in here where it was like Sidney Powell. I think yesterday she was on like ketamine, mushrooms, and LSD. There's no way. Like this just crazy. Like it is insane how much is they knew.
And not only it would be bad enough if it were just from the Tucker Carlsons and Laura Ingrams or whatever, but you even had, I'm pretty sure, Brett Baer, who was supposed to be like one of their Chris Wallace straight news journalists, like even he was in on it too. Like, hey, maybe we should call this thing into question in order to get viewer share back. I mean, it's poisoned the entire network. And the other thing too, just to kind of capitalize on this, when the Dominion text dropped, and obviously it was a bombshell, it went off. One of the points that I was making, you want to talk about the double standards and the asymmetry. Obviously, media networks get shit wrong. There's no question. Obviously, there are probably times where they have knowingly spread misinformation. And the thing is, though, what sets Fox apart here is we have no evidence of, like, CNN. Like, people talk about, like, well, CNN, what it did to the Covington Catholic kids.
Nope, careful. There's one thing that every conservative, if there are any left in my chat that I haven't banned yet, is going to bring up. And it's the, was it Donna Brazile? They handed debate questions off for a Democrat primary.
That was in secret, Stephen. It's the opposite of what you're talking about. We're talking about public lies to the people. That was a secret backdoor.
But I'm just saying that, like, in terms of like them picking and choosing a candidate and being biased or whatever, that's the one that they always go to.
I'm sorry. To be clear, I'm actually not making that case, because I have no doubt that, you know, these journalists and these, you wouldn't call Laura Ingraham and Tucker Carlson journalists, but like these pundits obviously have their biases. That's fine, right? I don't mind that Tucker Carlson is a pro-Trump bias, except for just on the merits of it. Mm-hmm. He's entitled to that.
For sure.
But we have never seen something so pervasive and systemic and dishonest as the Dominion voting machines. People say, well, CNN, you know, with the Covington Catholics, the kids, and the misrepresentation of that whole thing, there was nothing like this. Like, they had to pay nearly $1 billion. It was like $787 million in a defamation suit. And Pisco's the attorney here. I'm not. But my understanding is it's really, really hard to prove this sort of defamation case in an American.
The biggest of all time against a major news network.
Right.
It's
millions.
Right.
And like, there were messages going around, just as a quick one, from Jay Wallace, and these are all people. This is the president, executive editor of Fox News Media, right? Emails going around when they're talking, okay? Jay Wallace sending a message to Suzanne Scott, who's another exec or VP or something, right? Thank you.
She was their CEO.
I watched Lou closely for 2 weeks during the conventions. The North Koreans do a more nuanced show. Like, there are so many crazy emails, and they're just talking about all of this.
Yeah.
All of this.
And there's nothing like it that we have any evidence of from MSNBC, CNN.
The Twitter files had nothing like this, by the way.
Right.
And Matt Taibbi, okay, the hack fuck loser, even he said in his tweets.
Calling you out, Matt.
Even he said in his tweets that I saw no evidence of the government intruding to try to censor the laptop story. Zero evidence of any government intrusion on that, by the way. But conservatives will still repeat that lie over and over and over again, right?
Right.
And keep in mind also, hold on. I saw some conservatives type those, okay? Keep this in mind, because they're lying, they're sneaky. Conservatives will tell you, oh, that's why I don't listen to Fox News, because I know they do fake news. No, they don't listen to Fox News because they wanted them to do more fake news. That was why they left Fox
They were
News. And that's
insufficiently
why
fake.
Fox News was lying about this, is because they were losing their audience to Newsmax and OAN. And they say it over and over again. We're losing viewers to Newsmax. They're taking it. But they even say, because they know that these are lies and bullshit, okay, between Peterson and Schreier, okay, I turned it off. I don't know how we work here. Honestly, we're going to look back at this week and know that this is when we lost a significant part of our audience who won't come back. As soon as Facebook starts telling people to go to Newsmax. You know, though, between us, this is a problem for the channel, yes, but if we keep doing what we do, FBN will get a bunch of the disenfranchised folks too. They're talking about people leaving because they won't broadcast fake news, by the way. 100%. I was talking about exactly that with my husband last night. It's actually an opening for us. Yes, we just can't play for it openly like Newsmax and OAN. Because Fox News was a mainstream media corporation that did have a fact checker part of their corporation, and they knew all of it was lies. They knew all of it was bullshit, but they still told it to you. Every part of this was bullshit.
You know what else they did?
What else did they do?
Called the Arizona election the earliest of any network.
True.
And the right never forgave them for that.
No,
Even though
that's why they made these plays. They explicitly referenced that in these filings. I believe
Brett Baer, I think it was Brett Baer was the one, or somebody like that was like, maybe we should walk this back or like retract it to satisfy the viewers. I do remember that.
Yep. This is from testimony from Murdoch. It is fair to say that you seriously doubted any claim of massive election fraud. Oh, yes. Are you and you seriously doubted it from the very beginning? Yes, I mean, we thought everything was on the up and up. I think that was shown when we announced Arizona. And they talk about that, after the Arizona announcement, Donald Trump put them in their sights. Because remember, if you say no to the king, he will fucking destroy you. And you saw this happen to conservative after conservative, to the rhinos that are no longer considered part of MAGA America, to anybody in media that wouldn't play Trump's tune, to the note that he will turn against you and he will try to destroy you. Yeah. Like even here from Rupert Murdoch, okay? From Rupert Murdoch, all right?
Australian scum!
November 6th, okay, 2020, all right? Half of what Donald said was good. The other half, bullshit and damaging. Big media, big money, and big tech all against him and his vote. In spite of this, a mighty achievement, but conspiracy with pollsters? No, the latter is simply incompetent. Perhaps many run by Dems, but so what? Giving big money is not a conspiracy. Turns out it's mainly a waste. With several states now disappointingly favoring Biden, it's hard to claim there's foul everywhere, right? Every exec knew this. Every exec knew that all these claims were bullshit. All the Sydney stuff was fucking crazy. The Kraken was bullshit. All of this is bullshit. All of this is bullshit. Fuck. And they knew it was bullshit, and they knew that you fucking retards didn't care. They knew you didn't care, and that you guys would slurp it up. Oh my God, it's so crazy.
It really is. It is, man. It's nuts. It's nuts. Pisco, how do you feel, buddy?
Well, I feel great. I feel great because this was the right thing to do for the country. Because Joe Biden, as excellent as I think his presidency has been, and I think it's been excellent, he was not able to break that kind of feeling of him being way too old for the job, and has been showing signs that maybe he's not competent for the next 4 years. And so he was able to take this incredibly difficult step of recognizing that in himself with a little help. Let's be clear. It was definitely, the pressure was a big amount of it, but it was the right amount of pressure and the right decision, and an honorable decision that I think everyone needs to thank him for. Because now we do have the opportunity to win this election way more than we did before. And there's going to be an insane amount of hypium, and an insane amount of dollars I'm planning to donate to the new ticket, whatever it is.
You're going to single-handedly
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful now. Yeah, super hopeful. I think Steven and I are already planning a party for everyone to come to get hype. That's going to happen. You're all invited. And so, yeah, I'm ecstatic about the news.
Yeah, Andrew Weissman, I think he was a DOJ official. I can't remember. I want to say he was like a deputy AG or something like that. He compared President Biden's decision to President Washington, both in turning down power when he was general of the Continental Army, and then again after his second term.
What a contrast, huh?
Mm-hmm. God, can you imagine Donald Trump saying no to any? Just to be clear, and I would bet almost my life on this, not quite, but almost. If Donald Trump somehow didn't win the nomination on the Republican ticket, he absolutely would have ran as an independent. He didn't give a fuck.
Yeah,
absolutely, he would have ran as an independent.
Yeah, of course. Like, if anything, just to punish the Republicans, even if he knew he stood no chance of winning, just to screw the Republicans over.
Is
Now,
there?
all the
Wait,
Zoomers,
as a quick
you
question.
Zoomers- yeah, I want to talk to the Zoomers. Give me a second.
Okay, go for it.
The Zoomers, you have a responsibility right now. You have a responsibility to talk to all your other Zoomer friends and to turn out the youth vote for, if it's Harris, or whoever else it is. You have that responsibility. The Zoomers.
On God.
Anyway, sorry.
On God, period, as the kids say. I have no idea, but yeah.
As a quick criminal question, is there any criminal liability at all for defamation ever, or no?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Why?
I was just curious if it ever rises to like a criminal level, if you defame somebody like so fucking hard. But okay.
Maybe if there's like a court order for you to stop and you violate the order.
Yeah,
then it
yeah,
would be
sure,
like,
yeah.
So, Pisco, also, while you're here, curious
Yeah.
about the threats coming from the Heritage Foundation, even Mike Johnson.
All garbage.
earlier
They'll
today.
all fail. They're not going to be successful. It's all bullshit. And guess what? If I need to go to court and write a fucking amicus brief, I'll do it because we're not letting them they're not going to get close to this. And it's not going to work. Trust me.
That what are they? Are they going to file to try to keep Kamala off the
Some
ballot?
bullshit. Yeah. I mean, like, you can already start to hear it from this corrupt Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, start talking about disenfranchisement, this or that, as though he gives a fuck when the person he supports was trying to disenfranchise the entire country on their electoral vote. So this is all bullshit, and the challenges are weak as fuck. They're not going to work. And you can rest assured that good lawyers, strong lawyers, lawyers that support democracy, unlike these fuckers that try to coup the government, are going to stand between them and disenfranchising you this November.
Yeah, you're not standing between them. You're standing across from them in front of the 6-3 Supreme
True.
Court. Remember that.
I will never forget it. But
Yeah.
Mark Elias has said that he's pretty confident that these things will fail, which makes me feel a little better because he's like one of the top election lawyers in the country. But I don't know, man. I'm so cynical. I'm with Steven on this. Like, I feel like, couldn't they theoretically, I'm just trying to imagine, right? Because really a lot of this involves just running out the clock. So couldn't they file suit somewhere, judge shop, get it in front of like a Canon or a Casmeric or something like that, and just engage in legal fuckery?
No,
It's
you would
all
never
frivolous.
grant. It would all be like irreparable harm. There's no way they would grant. Well, no, I guess they would argue irreparable harm. That's why they have to be removed from the ballot. It would be unfathomable, I would think. But I said the same about criminal immunity.
It would
So
all be frivolous, and I'll put money on it. They won't work. Maybe there'll be a problem with Ohio legislatively, but I think the Democrats will win that challenge too. So no, I don't think it'll work.
okay.
Oh, that makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah, don't worry about that. That's all to scare you. That's all to fearmonger. There is no official Democratic nominee yet. All of this is private internal politics. There's nothing. Imagine if Joe Biden were to die, right?
Sure.
If he died, what would be the case that, like, oh, the Democrats now can't run someone? That's complete lunacy. No, that's not how it works. And even, by the way, even if Biden had to be on the ticket, you could still vote the Biden ticket, knowing that it would be Harris.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all.
Wait.
garbage,
Can I ask you
all
a quick
fear-mongering.
question? Hold on. To confirm a nominee from the Senate, is that 51 votes?
Depends.
What? No, I'm sorry.
be
to confirm a
50.
Supreme Court, or I say 51 because
Supreme Court, yeah. The Supreme
It's just
Court,
a
you
simple
only need
majority,
51.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. Do we agree Sotomayor should absolutely retire?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like now, right?
Yeah.
Is she going to?
Yeah.
Has anybody spoke about that?
I don't know.
Are we looking at a 7-2 Supreme Court or probably like I don't know why. I don't know. Yeah. I will.
should,
I
not
just
because
to be
it's-
clear, I will hate women forever. Okay. RBG already tested me. But if Sotomayor dies as well, and for no reason, like if Trump did win, it's like a 7-2 court, bro.
I just want to say Justice Sotomayor is a phenomenal justice.
Mm-hmm.
Her opinions are awesome. I still think she should step down just because of the nature of the threat and what the court has been doing.
Yeah, she's 70 years old, and she's like a diabetic who needs a constant medic surrounding her at all times, of course.
Or otherwise, we
Yeah.
need to hire like fucking House has to follow this lady around with like at least like 3 different people who are blood type matches that can donate organs whenever needed. Okay, to keep her alive.
Because here's the thing, we all agree, like let's say Trump doesn't win and let's say Vice President Harris wins, but I mean right now Republicans are favored to take the Senate. It's not guaranteed, but it's a brutal map. We have to defend like 8 incumbent competitive seats and they only need to flip 2 and to take the majority. Jim Justice, the Republican candidate, he's going to win West Virginia, right? Because Manchin's leaving. So the odds are that they will at least take the Senate, even if we take the White House. We all agree.
Mm-hmm.
let's just be very clear about this, that if there is a Supreme Court vacancy 2 weeks into Vice President Harris's second term, not 2 weeks from the end, but 2 weeks into the beginning, that a Republican Senate will not confirm.
Oh yeah, that's what Pisco is saying. He doesn't think they'd confirm.
I agree. They won't.
I don't think you should risk it. I feel like she should step down. Yeah. Do you agree? Is there any good argument against the idea of, I don't know if we talked about this before, but just like every president should just get one Supreme Court pick or two or whatever, and then you just rotate them out? Is there any good argument against that?
What if you have more than one vacancies, like a bunch of other stuff?
Well, sure, but I mean, like you could slot it for then like the next president to like make it even or whatever. But I like I don't like the lottery. The Supreme Court lottery feels really stupid to me.
Yeah, it's silly. Trump got 3.
That's insane. Maybe 4. Like he's looking at potentially 4 if he did win this election, right? That's just insane.
But in one term, he got 3.
Yeah.
Think I
think
life would be different.
Let's be clear. I think he's guaranteed 2 more no matter what, because I believe Thomas and Alito will drop out
if he wins. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
if he wins. Yeah.
Bet on that, folks.
So then he'll get to say he appointed a MAGA majority, right?
Yeah.
And don't you think, Stephen, just to be 100% clear, Donald Trump is way too old to be president. I mean, he's the oldest official nominee for a party. Do you agree with that?
I mean, yeah. Have you seen videos 100%. Of him talking prior, even in the last election cycle in 2016? He was much sharper. He was much brighter. He didn't have as many weird name
and the polls show it, guys.
Over and over again. Listen, what Nikki Haley and Pelosi and all these things. Yeah, for sure.
100%. But it's not just the gaps. But again, this is really important because people used to talk about the previous Democratic presumptive nominee and the polls against him. Polls have consistently shown anywhere from 50 to 65% of the American people have serious doubts that Donald Trump is not meant to be fit to be president.
It's a good point. We really don't know. Like the black box of a Donald Trump presidency where like we can't see into who's running the show. Like he says that Project 2025 isn't what's going on, but who knows who's running things really? I mean, there are moments where he doesn't know where the fuck.
I mean, didn't they already admit that he wanted to do some military action and like either Milley or somebody else like was not doing? Yeah, so like he doesn't even have control of his thing. Also, have we seen him play golf recently? Is his handicap really the same as it was 10, 15, 20 years ago? Does he even have the same level of physical health? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Hey, on that note, did you ever hear Biden's banger line on that note? He's like, what's Trump been doing? Just riding around on his golf cart, filling out his golf score before he hits the ball. I just thought it was a funny line. But yeah, I mean, I do think that obviously the vice president, the vice president should be making this case. It'll be interesting to see how people who previously bitched about Biden react to this. Like, I cannot wait if and when Stephen ever
just to be
gets
clear,
back on Piers Morgan.
Nothing will happen. You understand that conservatives don't actually care about that. Like they don't actually give a fuck about the senility. Yeah. So they'll just like, oh no, if you look at Trump now, he's still sharp. And that'll be it.
78's the new 60 anyway.
But it's telling that Trump picked such a young vice president because it's clear that the American people are very concerned about his age, and that's something that like you should carry forward to everyone you know is like bring this concern of age. And
of course. Yeah, that's going to be 100. How many people did you hear saying over and over again, wow, is it really these two candidates? These are the two that we got? Oh, well, now you have a different
one.
Now
they're not.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see if people who are more centrist on this like recant now that they can't appeal to Biden.
That might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard you say. That is funny though. That you think that people are going to recant. That you think people are going to walk back.
I'm not saying that they will. I'm not saying that they will. I think it will be funny content. I think it will be good content.
Okay. That's slightly more acceptable. Okay.
Yes. For people in real time to ask a follow-up question like, hey, so now that that's no longer on the table, now that you don't have to worry about Biden's senility, do you favor
Harris is 59 though? I mean, so she's a little old.
Yeah.
You know.
God.
Yeah. I do want to call out any centrist who was like, I'm not going to name any names, of course, but any centrist who was like, Biden, I can't do that. Now you have an opportunity to stick by your guns and condemn Donald Trump and to join the other ticket and to forcefully say, I support the Democratic candidate. I think that would be a great idea, and I think everyone who was kind of on the fence, or maybe even they said, I prefer Trump just because of how old Biden is, maybe now is the time to stick with your guns and your politics, what you say are your politics, and endorse the Democratic nominee.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
True. I hit that question at the end of I did an interview with Tom Bill Yu, the impact theory guy. Yeah, I asked him that at the very end. I wanted to get this question out. And I asked him before, I think it was the second to last question I asked. I was like, hey, just to be clear, if Biden drops out, and I think I asked, if Biden drops out and Kamala Harris comes back, will you seriously reconsider? And he did say, I got him to say, yes, I would seriously relook at the candidates or reconsider. So yeah, we'll see.
Play it back. Play back those tapes. Get the clips. Get all of them. And honestly, it should be embarrassing for anyone who calls himself a centrist or who is just worried and concerned about the senility of Joe Biden now to stand behind Trump or even be equivocal about it. Demand answers from them and push back hard.
Yeah, real hard. Even if that means you gotta make fun of.
Burn some bridges. Oh, no, not that.
Well, you're both here because this was a question I had for Stephen earlier, and then we got sidetracked. But again, now that you've been diving deeper into the Supreme Court cases and judicial cases in general, one of the things that Pisco and I constantly talk about, and I'm curious if your opinions on this have changed. I believe that in our current conception, the Supreme Court of the United States is effectively the most powerful branch, not equal, but is the top dog of the three. What do you think? Am I wrong?
It's hard to say like what there are so many checks and balances between them all. It's just hard to say. I don't know if I would say any branch is like, technically, I believe conceptually, I think Congress is supposed to be kind of the most powerful, but
it is. It is supposed to be.
But
right?
everything's power has its cons to it, right? Like the legislature absolutely, undeniably has the most power, but it also like requires the most like inertia
Consensus.
to overcome,
Yeah,
in order to get that power executed, right? The Supreme Court theoretically can wield a lot of power, but it's kind of constrained theoretically
right. Well,
by the Constitution
let's
and laws
be
of
clear.
Congress.
Like in terms of what the founders intended, you actually find like the word co-equal doesn't exist in the Constitution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jamie Raskin and other constitutional scholars have really been leading the way on this, and really since Donald Trump became president, saying that the notion of three co-equal branches, it's kind of a canard, right? The branches are separate and they're all important, but Congress was always intended to be the most powerful branch. It's the one that can amend the Constitution. It's in theory got the final hand on top, like you said.
And you have to remember that for Marbury v. Madison, the Supreme Court was supposed to be the final say on resolving disputes for cases that would either come up federally or to resolve disputes between states or to resolve disputes relating to like treaties, I think. That's what the Supreme Court was supposed to do. And it was only judicial review. Yes. The Supreme Court technically wait, what?
I disagree with that reading that the Supreme Court like usurped itself and
I'm not saying it usurped itself. I'm just saying that it wasn't originally written, at least by text, that the Supreme Court had the power to declare a law from the legislature unconstitutional.
That's
right?
true.
That it comported. Because I think there were some, I don't remember the quotes, but some of the people that were originally, when they were drafting the Constitution, didn't think that Congress would ever do that. Well, Congress wouldn't pass a law that's unconstitutional. They can't. Or that, sorry, go ahead.
Here's my response to that real quick. I mean, you could imagine them coming up with something that said, it is emphatically the providence and duty of the legislature to say what the law is instead of the judicial branch, right? Mm-hmm. I understand that it's not explicitly written, but if you read the Federalist Papers, there's a reference to judicial review in one of them. I'm not remembering right now which one it is, but also there were other state Supreme Courts at the time that did have that authority, and the thought process is, and again, I don't have the analysis on hand, that the inspiration for the federal judiciary were those other state Supreme Courts. And so I do think that as envisioned by the framers in the Federalist Papers, that judicial review is like considered.
Okay, that could be the case. Considering that the Marbury case was that like 1807 or something? How early was that? It was pretty early, wasn't it?
It was an early case under
1803.
Marshall.
Sure.
It's a famous opinion. And it's one of the most, if you look at the fact patterns, one of the craziest opinions. Anyone who worries about like judicial ethics, just so you guys know, this was all about a commission that wasn't sent to Marbury under the Adams administration. By the Secretary of State was supposed to give away the commissions to these justices of the peace. And do you want to know who the Secretary of State was at the time of the Adams administration who failed to send the commission to Marbury? A little fellow by the name of Justice Marshall. And so why isn't Justice Marshall recusing himself in this case when he's like a fact witness of what happened? Who knows? There's a lot of that. And
but the early courts and the Supreme Court and everything was wild. It was way different. Yeah, it was a wild. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just say it was a different time back then, and some people think it was a setup case that they set it up
Even it seems like the court has changed like quite a lot over the history of the United States, not just ancient history either. Like I said, I was like setting aside an evening to read through that the Brown v. Board of Education case because I was curious like what all the arguments were. That's like an 11-page opinion. It's like a 20-minute read, and I'm like, oh, okay, interesting.
Did you not like it? You're against Brown v. Board?
Yeah, because Congress didn't make a law.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Congress didn't make a
Sweats to me,
law,
sweats to me.
right? Isn't that what Roberts said? That we have to, or was it Alito that said that? No, it was Roberts that wrote that opinion. Congress didn't make a law enforcing equal protections from the 14th Amendment, and I thought that's what Section 5 said. That's the argument that we used to get rid of Section 3,
Enacting
saying that
legislation.
that was like I believe that was the central argument that they used to say that the states can't enforce this. Yeah, that was what Robert said. So I think equal protection should be thrown out the window unless Congress makes laws for it. Yeah.
By the way, all 9 Supreme Court justices are guilty for that shambolic opinion, Anderson. So I am disappointed that the liberals didn't dissent there. But
Yeah.
That's just another reason why Sotomayor should. Never mind. Just kidding. But.
True.
Oh, how are you feeling, Stephen? Doesn't it feel like a huge relief? Tell me I'm lying.
No, not at all. And it shouldn't. You should have nervous energy. I think if you're looking at this honestly, it should be nervous energy. Like there's a lot of opportunity. Like a lot of cool stuff it'll be the same thing I said like yesterday and over the past week. A lot of really cool stuff now has the potential to happen that couldn't before, but a lot of disastrous stuff has the potential to happen that couldn't before as well. Just who knows? Yeah.
Can you tell me your emotional reaction the moment you heard?
I mean, it's a relief that you don't have to worry about any of the Biden attacks anymore. And then it's wondering of like what the next. I mean, it's exciting for me. I'm a content creator, and I know that I'm going to get a lot of viewers today, and it's going to be a lot to talk about.
Isn't it crazy that no one even remembers that someone shot at Donald Trump?
Oh, I was just arguing earlier with Paul,
no
and
one remembers it.
Yeah.
It's
also,
like no one even.
Donald Trump passed a bullet. Okay, don't let people say Donald Trump took a bullet for this country, because if he took it, then how did the guy behind him get shot and killed? Okay, he passed that bullet on a dude behind him. I don't know how people are saying Donald Trump took a bullet when his ear got grazed and there's another dude behind him that got fucking killed. It's unhinged, but
Does it matter to you?
it does matter to me. Yeah, because it's weird when people say God protected Donald Trump that day, and it's like, bro, what about the dude behind him that got killed?
You are leaving out a critical part of the claim that Donald Trump took a bullet, because he actually said this at a rally, I think yesterday. I saw a brief clip. He said he took a bullet for democracy. That's a direct quote.
Yeah. Apparently, God can only shield one person
say a word,
at a time.
You're in
all
enough
the
trouble
words.
already.
I don't care. I will take the trouble. I don't give a fuck. Okay, I will.
You do care.
I'll take it all to embolden the liberals around me to be brave. Okay, you see these Laura Loomer tweets. You see these unhinged fucking statements that conservatives are making. Yeah, tell me where's all the conviction for the people calling those people out? Fuck that bullshit. I have
when they go low, we go
stop.
Medium.
Shut up.
We go medium.
No, shut the fuck up.
Wait, we can't go medium. You literally, this was your
Here's
idea.
the point. Listen, okay? They choose the battlefield, we'll win on the battlefield. Whatever they choose, we'll fight with the weapons that they declare, and we will defeat them, okay?
You're unhinged.
That's
You're
the rule.
crazy.
That's the rule, okay?
Usually I'm the bad cop. It feels good for once to be the good cop.
I mean, you agree with the substance of what he's getting at here, which is that there needs to be the forced expectation of symmetrical standards.
If you watch the actual video, the guy in the background steps on a blade of grass that belonged to that tree, okay? He leased that blade of grass. Also, I'm so sorry too. I wish I would have watched this video. God, there's so much more I would have shit on Trump. I thought that there were shots that the next second Donald Trump got down, and then a second or two later, Donald Trump got up and raised his fist. I didn't realize he was on the ground for like a fucking minute, waiting for the all clear from 15 different people, and then spending 10 seconds finding his fucking shoes, and then getting up and raising his fist. The way that story was presented, I thought that the sequence of events was much shorter than him waiting for the all clear, finding his shoes.
Does this matter to you?
Yes, it does. It does matter. Yes, I think it absolutely matters. Well,
Why?
Because people present this, and the average conservative in their mind, I don't care what you tell me, and I know this is true, the average conservative in their mind thinks that Donald Trump got shot, ducked quickly, and then rose up and fight with his fist in like 2 seconds. That's why they all say that, like, he took a bullet and he stood up and he continued to be brave. Every conservative in this country thinks that. Absolutely.
Why do you think it's important to fight that myth? I mean, like, it's just whatever.
Well, it's not in the grand scheme of all the things to fight is not important. It's just another lie. Like, did Donald Trump have the largest audience in his inauguration? It's just another fucking lie. It's just good to keep track of these things, I think, because when you lie and lie and lie and lie, you have this fertile breeding ground for big lies later on when people spread them over time. And conservatives are the masters at that. Yeah. And he spent more time searching for his fucking shoes with his height inserts than he did, with his fist in the air screaming fight. Okay.
So you think that he has height inserts like DeSantis?
I think he does. Why was he so concerned about getting his shoes?
Maybe because he didn't want to step on any broken glass. Or
Oh, yeah? The Secret Service couldn't fucking carry him? He had like 10 agents around him.
He's a big guy. I don't know if you...
No, he's not. Ronnie Jackson, his physician, didn't he say that Donald Trump weighs like 190-something pounds?
Oh, there you go. He's like 6'3", right? 190? That's a healthy weight. Right. He's good.
No, I mean, it's bullshit. Like, he's overweight, right? But they were just like fudging the information about him, fudging his height and weight. They were called out for it.
Now you're attacking his physical appearance, even though Stephen has specifically said you're not to attack people's physical appearance.
I didn't attack his.
Hold on, wait, excuse me. I'm 5'8". I wouldn't attack him if he's only 6'1". Okay, if he's like a manlet, if he's a 6'1" manlet, that's great. I support him. Okay, I'm just saying if he's not 6'3" and he's lying about it, that's something that's worth considering. I think considering how much shit they gave DeSantis over that. Didn't DeSantis literally go on PBD's show and they literally asked him about his height?
What the hell's PBD?
Paul, the Iranian, inserted Iranian foreign influencer that spreads, Russian disinformation in the United States. That guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's super dumb. I saw him get owned by this conservative guy who hates Trump. I forget his name. Steve something. You know what I'm talking about, Jessiah?
Schmidt, Steve Schmidt.
Yeah, he
from Lincoln Project. Yeah, that was brutal. Yeah. He's also frequently on Piers Morgan's show too. They just had him on.
Piers Morgan, no spine whatsoever.
I totally disagree. What? I feel like he's got a huge spine. He just uses it to stand up for Trump.
Listen, he has criticized Donald Trump in the past.
True.
He said some things about January 6th, okay? But he also I just saw like he dropped an op-ed in the New York Post about why my phone call with Donald Trump last night makes me believe he is destined to return to the White House.
Who said that?
So, Piers Morgan.
He wants him to return. That's the thing that these centrists, quote unquote, never admit. I mean, just come out. Just come out and say that you support this fascist. Everything will make sense, right? The second that Piers says, yeah, puts on the MAGA hat, would any of us be surprised? Of course not.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he was honest, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess that. Mm-hmm. I guess there's that. All right, in terms of next steps, do you want to see an open convention process, even if it's kind of a foregone conclusion, Stephen, where there's at least one other candidate? Or do you want it to be more anointing?
So this was my issue before. I think I said this. I think you agreed. The scary thing about like all the leaks and the disunity behind the scenes is that like if you're not on the same page, it's hard to move together with a common purpose. And the fighting and everything behind the scenes, I don't think was healthy for the Democratic Party. It wasn't good. Now that they've picked Kamala, hopefully they can all get on the same page and move forward. But having an open convention, doesn't it just invite more of that disunity?
Maybe. Doesn't it feel like we've broken the clouds? Like we were below a storm. And there was this hurricane. Everyone was down. Everyone was sad. And this very dark time. And all of a sudden, we burst through a cloud. And now we're 30,000 feet in the air. And now we can see the sun. Doesn't it feel like that?
No, not at all. But I understand why you feel that way. Yeah, no, not at all.
I feel like it's 3.5 months from an election, and we're still down in the polls. And
don't you have the hope now that la ganas? You know what ganas is?
No.
You're Hispanic, right, Stephen? Ganas.
Oh yeah.
The will.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Don't
I knew
you
that.
have the will now? Yeah, you knew that.
I love your optimism. I wonder what IRI is thinking.
I'm not saying it's a done deal. There's a fight ahead, a metaphoric fight.
Yeah. What do you mean by fight? Turn down the fucking temperature, Pisco.
This is going to be tough.
You know what I feel like? Here's what I feel like. I feel like you were in the hospital and it's a little bit rough. The doctors are giving you about 6 months left on hospice. And you're like, but there'll be like 4 or 5 good months, okay? And then probably a rough month and you die, okay? And then the doctors came in and they said, listen, okay? We know that we said it was foregone. You're gone. However, there is a treatment, a combination of things that we can do. We can go for a full cure. It has a 15% chance of success, though. So there's like a flurry of excitement. And it's like, oh shit, okay, I thought it was a done deal, and I thought, whatever, okay, all right, there's a thing, but it's like, whew, And I'm not trying to map on precisely saying, oh, there's only 50% chance Kamala wins. I'm just saying, like, that's like the type of feeling that I have, where it's like something. Obviously, there's a lot of new potentials open up, but who knows?
You understand right now that Jimmy Carter's alive because of you, right?
I'm so sorry. I didn't know I would score 970 that day. Okay, I didn't know.
What I want you to do is go on to I Got Rhythm, 900 and above,
and release it.
And don't release it yet. 900 and above, and we're in a good place.
900 is so easy. Okay,
win.
I'll do it next time.
One thing we do insist on collectively as your pals: you cannot fucking travel for the next 3.5 months.
I know.
It's your ass in that apartment in Miami.
Except for the
party. You can DoorDash your shit, but there is no need for you to leave that apartment for any reason in 3.5 months. Every time. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a meme. But it's like a 1-to-1 ratio. Every time.
Bro, I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting in fucking New York, and I check out my fucking phone that day, and I'm just reading, and I'm like, assassinate. There's no shot, right? This is not real, right? Oh my God. Yeah, Jesus.
I had a migraine, and I woke up.
Yep.
Okay, no one's gonna believe me, but I'm telling you 100% the truth, because I had just got off a discussion with someone about the immunity case. None of you are gonna believe me, but I promise you it's true. I had a migraine, so I took a nap, and I dreamt about an assassination attempt on Joe Biden. I wake up, I look at my phone, because I have to get ready for a dinner that I'm going to, and I see Vosh's stream title, Assassination Attempt. And I was like, oh, he's just referencing, I guess, the immunity? I couldn't fucking believe it, but it was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me.
Damn.
Yeah.
You're clairvoyant.
What do you want to kind of bitch?
Oh, I just saw you guys were talking about the election, and I was like, oh, I'll hop in. This seems like a fun discussion.
You're not part of this team, homie. You're not on the team.
I'm sorry.
I'm just
He's on the team.
I'm just fighting.
He's on it.
How do you feel, buddy?
I'll be voting for Trump now.
Oh.
Now that I'm
yeah,
now that
true.
the Democrats have disenfranchised me.
Yeah, I am voting for Donald Trump now. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Now that I've been disenfranchised by the Democrats, it's really they're the party of anti-democracy, and so now I'm going to vote for Trump in order to save our institutions.
This is
on
like
that score,
January
real
6th.
quick, Pisco, in all seriousness, because you've been complaining about this a lot. Can you, for the benefit of chat or anybody who's like going to have to fight this, metaphorically speaking, why?
Well, thank you for clarifying metaphorically, because
right.
the rhetoric was very hot, but then you said metaphorically. Thank God. Go ahead.
Putting the bullseye on
Jesus Christ.
Metaphorical bullseye.
Metaphorical bullseye. Okay.
Can you give a quick, lawyerly explanation as to why this is not in any way anti-democratic?
Yeah, we did this a little bit before. I'll just do one real quick. No man rules alone. Donald Trump, sorry, I messed it up. Joe Biden is not entitled to the infrastructure of his party. He has no legal right to, or even philosophical right to, use the resources of the Democrats and have Democrats support him. Maintaining the confidence of your party is a absolute vital thing to do in almost every democracy, certainly in every parliamentary democracy. There are methods to get rid of a leader who does not have the confidence of his party. In this specific case, there were a bunch of contests that occurred. Yeah, millions of people voted in a private primary process that uses the kind of the systems of the state, and it's conducted sometimes by state officials, but these are private contests, and there are rules attendant to those private contests, which are what happens if a candidate decides to drop out. It was entirely Joe Biden's decision to drop out or not. That there was pressure and people using their First Amendment rights to voice their lack of confidence in the president and his ability to beat Donald Trump is totally par for the course. It's part of the rules. It's what happens, and there's nothing wrong with it. And to suggest that we should be bound by those previous primaries, supposing and on the condition that Joe Biden decide to drop out, is ridiculous, flatly ridiculous. Joe Biden has no entitlement to the funding or the support, and the fact that that was starting to leave and that pressured his decision doesn't make his decision to drop out any more illegitimate or anti-democratic. The real election is in November, and maybe even before that, right? If you're doing the early voting and that kind of thing. And so that's the real election. This is all private, and it was all done above board, 100%.
Yeah, and I think one thing as well worth pointing out is that Biden had a running mate, Kamala Harris. He also, like Pisco said, he voluntarily chose to drop out. And so now picking his backup candidate, which is basically what a vice presidential nominee is, doesn't seem particularly anti-democratic. It seems like these institutions are set up to handle a scenario like this, so it's nothing worth worrying about too much. But I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of voters out there who are like, I think it's a very online position. The idea of like, well, because you took Biden away from me, I'm just not going to vote. I'm going to sit this one out.
Well, I don't even know how true.
There's not a
I don't even know how
single
true the opinions are. Bro. Okay,
It's an
sorry.
online opinion
Welcome to my
only.
conspiracy brain. I'm so sorry. I don't trust anything I see on X anymore, okay? I don't trust that platform. I think it's Russian control. I don't trust it. I don't trust X. I don't. I think it's crazy. We have no more insight.
Yeah.
Elon Musk openly and adamantly supports it. He's more partisan than Jack Dorsey or anybody involved with Twitter ever has been in history. We have no more transparency into
imagine?
it. There's no more
you
reports
imagine?
about their communication. Like, it's, yeah.
If Zuckerberg, prior to the 2020 election, had been as vocal and outspokenly pro-Biden as Elon Musk is,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do, folks. I don't know.
Or
what
Jeff
would have been done.
Bezos or Jack Dorsey or any other person, any other CEO. The Republicans all claimed, right? They were like, oh, these guys are all supporting the Dems. No leaks about it. Twitter files contain nothing about it. No evidence for any of this. Meanwhile, Elon Musk, every single other fucking tweet is shitting on Biden and supporting Trump. Meanwhile, Elon Musk, is it confirmed or am I making this up? Because I saw headlines saying that Elon Musk is now putting like $45 million into
I believe it.
Trump referenced it at his speech. So, yeah, I think so.
like,
I think it's explicit now. He said that Musk is giving him $45 million a month, too.
It's it's because of like high school reasons, because he wants to be popular with the cool kids. That's literally, I think he has the mentality of a child.
yeah.
He really wants to have the likes and the tweets from people that he considers to be cool. That's it. And fuck Hulk Hogan and fuck Joe Rogan. You guys are all anti-democratic shills. You're sucking at the altar of Donald Trump, and it's gross.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was some reporting out that said that Musk was actually personally pretty upset that when Biden had his it was like an American EV showcase that he didn't invite Elon Musk, and apparently this actually really upset Elon Musk, which is what caused
Well,
Elon
hold on.
Musk to be.
Remember, wasn't one of Trump's major reasons for getting involved in politics was it 2011 or 2012 that Obama slighted
Obama
him?
roasted him, at the White House Correspondents'
And
Center,
he was
made fun
so
of his face.
fucking ass mad. He sat there stewing so much. And I don't believe they ever had another one when Trump was in the White House, right? They basically axed all of them, right?
No, they had one, and then they stopped after that. Or no, excuse me, I'm sorry. He never showed up.
Oh, okay.
They
okay.
would still have the
Because
correspondence.
they are the
he just never
thinnest
showed up.
skinned
Yep.
motherfuckers
Well,
that ever
they are.
existed.
Wait, my favorite
They-
thin-skinned Trump thing is when he got rid of Michelle Obama's school lunch initiative on Michelle Obama's birthday when he was president. That's the most petty thing that Trump did as president. He waited until her birthday to get rid of her healthy school lunch initiative.
Or anytime he
these
celebrates a
Trump
holiday, he'll always say he'll always say Happy 4th of July, even to the losers and the haters, and he goes on
right.
the 7-paragraph screed.
About unity, though.
Yeah.
They are the thinnest skinned motherfuckers that have ever existed. The moment you criticize them at all, they block you. I'm talking about the Dave Rubins, the Redacteds. Every single time that you call them out on their bullshit, they whine and cry and hold on to it for the rest of their lives. I'm talking about Peterson, who can't get over the SJWs. That movement is dead and gone and buried, and he's still butthurt about that and all the criticisms. Same with Trump and the rest of them. They can't get over it.
Yeah. Remember, this country almost descended into civil war when Starbucks put Happy Holidays on their fucking cups. Okay, this was 10 years ago. And
Remember all the
conservatives lost
people
their minds.
harassing
Happy
Target?
Holiday. Yeah, they couldn't handle it.
Harassing Target so much that Target got rid of LGBTQ merchandise. All these employees.
Yeah,
are
don't paint your bridge this color. Down with. Remember when they were against kneeling at the national anthem? Can you imagine? Can you fucking imagine being upset that some people were taking the knee at the national anthem? At the same time, your supporters are all flying the flag upside down against the Democratic election. I can't think of a more incoherent position in terms of American symbology than that.
Yeah,
God.
the hypocrisy. I mean,
Republicans
it
are
really
crazy.
is. It's stunning.
Destiny, who should be the vice presidential
He's
pick?
gone.
Oh, he's gone.
He's
Rest in
gone.
peace.
Yeah. He's never.
Who do you
coming back.
guys who do you guys think Destiny wants to be vice presidential pick?
Whatever the most like upvoted thing, or whatever the highest chances are in Vegas, that's who he'll go with.
You know
He
what
has
I
no
think?
spine. He won't go out of. He won't pick some weird candidate. He only does the conventional candidate. But don't tell him I said that.
Thank God you're not saying it in front of 17,000 people who are going to clip it and send it back.
They're not
to
going
him.
to clip it.
You know, there's hold on. There's a young woman, progressive. She could unite the party that I think Destiny would love.
Alexandria?
Anna Kasparian.
God. Yeah, that's what
I
we
can't
need.
imagine what TYT's coverage is going to be like. I don't even know if I want to.
I
Well,
saw-
they're
I saw
they're gonna be upset because the Democrats are all just gonna vote for Kamala and nobody's gonna run against her. But I mean, I
Wait,
don't
what'd you
really
tell
understand.
me that Jenks said about Biden again today? What'd you tell me you said?
What do
He
you mean?
said that he was gracious. He was like,
No.
yeah.
No, wait a
we
minute.
gotta
did
do Biden.
That he's not a good or that he was not the best president.
Yeah, I think Jenks said something along the lines of like all this coverage about Biden's the best president of our lifetimes and all this stuff, like all that's complete nonsense.
Wait,
And it's
that's
like,
unironically true, though, folks. I mean, just think if you were.
I mean, that is unironically true.
If
Yeah.
you're a millennial, right? I think Clinton was a bad president. That's just my opinion. Then you have Bush. I think Bush was a bad president. Then you have Obama. I think Biden was a better president than Obama. And then you have Trump. Need I say more? How is he not, at least for millennials, the best president we've ever had in our lifetime?
Yeah, I mean, Cenk was born in 1970, and I just thought, like, well, man, if you think about all the presidents since 1970, like, I mean, genuinely speaking, like, I cannot think of a better president than Biden in that period of time.
What would it be? LBJ, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, George
I
H.W.
think
Bush, Clinton.
LBJ, I think he leave office in the 60s? Yeah, he left office in 69, so it would have been Nixon all the way
Ford,
up to
Carter,
Biden,
Reagan,
I guess today.
yeah.
So
If you like
yeah, I mean,
conservatives, I guess Reagan, you could argue.
that's true.
Yeah,
Cenk
but-
was a Republican back then, so maybe he would say
Oh, true.
Reagan was
yeah.
the best.
But like now he wouldn't say that. And so who would Cenk say was a better president in his lifetime than Joe Biden?
I honestly don't know. I don't know, because
and
Clinton
then be
destroyed
willing
the
to
welfare
defend their
state.
record and be willing to defend their record. That's the other thing. Like, I mean, of all the stupid takes to have, like, I understand. I mean, at least with domestic policy, like, listen, I understand that they have legitimate, grievances with how the Biden administration has managed, aspects of foreign policy. But even, again, I use Mehdi Hassan as an example. You will find no one who is as consistently outspokenly critical of the president on foreign policy than Mehdi Hassan. And even Mehdi Hassan goes out of his way to say when it comes to domestic policy, Biden has no equal in modern American history. So,
Dude,
yeah.
I will say the thing that made my outburst against crazy conservatives worth it was watching Mehdi Hassan take out my arguments against Piers. I liked watching that.
It was all.
Yeah. I
It
liked
was.
seeing that. Hell yes. And then watching them both do like the British interviewer thing to each other and then both getting upset that they were both doing the British interviewer thing to each other was really funny to me.
Well, so what's funny was I tweeted that maybe Mehdi should invite Piers onto his show because he's got this thing called Zateo and he has his own like show on Substack or whatever. So that way he can bypass the Piers Morgan excuse, which is that I'm the interviewer, I'm asking questions, I don't have to answer questions. And then Mehdi retweeted it and said, "Hey Piers, what about it? Do you want to come on my show or whatever?" And I've been like pretty obsessively like looking up to see a follow-up. I wonder if Piers Morgan will do it. I wonder if he will accept.
No shot, dude.
You don't think
this
so?
is what like people like Elon Musk do, or whatever is Adrian Dittmer, or what was his name? I don't know, the fucking other guy.
Not
I don't want to
Elon
talk about
Musk.
politics. I don't want because they don't want.
Who's
to
Adrian
have the-
Dittmer?
It's an account
guy.
it's a guy that tries to desperately sound like Elon Musk and whether he is or isn't.
Oh, is that the
actually
guy
Elon
you
Musk.
talked to?
They don't want
Yeah.
the questions, and Steven has unlocked the last chakra of the questions, where you don't move on until the question is answered, and you put them on the defensive. You put your questions that you want answered on the spot. And if he had a chance with Elon Musk in that call to ask his set of questions about whether they thought the election was stolen, they're scared of those questions because they're scared to answer it because they can't upset daddy. By the way, I'm also calling out Dave Portnoy, that dumb motherfucker, for calling out Biden's like response window to the assassination attempt. He's another one of these idiots who doesn't know shit about politics, won't answer a single question. I guarantee it. everyone in this space is afraid, deathly afraid, to have an honest interrogation of their views because they know they can't answer questions honestly, because if they do, they'll upset daddy.
Yep. It's called whatever the next stage of audience capture is, what audience abduction, audience Stockholm syndrome. It's like the more severe version of that. Again, like it's all in that Dominion Fox suit. We're like, guys, Newsmax is taking our audience. They're gonna leave us. We gotta put on Sydney. We need to get the Kraken out. Like, yeah, it's on him, and they know it's false the entire time. Yeah, it's the.
And this is all to all the stoolies. Go tell Portnoy right now, if he wants to prove that he's not just a Donald Trump sycophant, come on and answer some questions. See what you actually think about politics and what Donald Trump did to this democracy. He'll never do it.
Well, I think one factor to keep in mind is that they also might just be really, really stupid and not like.
Oh yeah, Portnoy is also a very dumb guy. I do like
Right.
Miss Peaches though. Miss Peaches, great account. Some of the pizza reviews kind of funny.
I mean, his pizza reviews are great, but he's probably not a great political commentator of our time.
He has some good takes on pizza. I think he overrates a few places. I think he underrates a few others, but yeah.
That's fair. Destiny, who should be the running mate?
I guess like the people are talking about Shapiro or
Sorry.
what or
Because he was the leading Vegas odds, and I predicted that's who you would first say.
or Whitmer or whatever, right? Like these are the two that I see, but people said Whitmer said she's not interested, so yeah, I don't know. But probably somebody to shore up, yeah, like a swing state and some weaker party
While
electorate.
you were gone, Pisco was roasting you for picking
No.
For picking what?
the more he says he's going to pick the most conventional option or the one that the odds favor. That's a mark against you. How dare
No, I'm just.
That's a mark against you, Steven, for picking.
Look at these snitches.
You said it to 17,000 people.
They weren't going to clip it.
I was going to clip it.
Wait, what? The claim is that I would pick whoever the odds favor?
Yeah.
Why is that an insult? Am I supposed to take that? As an
I think
insult?
he was gently roasting you.
So
Like-
that's an admission. That's what we call an admission, folks.
That's
pizza in
the
New York,
best
by the way.
best thing to do, right? I mean, what's wrong with that?
I don't think that Portnoy is wrong. I think it's either
Portnoy?
John. Yeah, we were talking about Portnoy before, but someone asked me about the best pizza in New York.
Well,
and I
because
was
you
gonna
were
say-
just talking about me and not you.
I know. But
Can I reveal a thing real quick?
I can't answer
I went to a restaurant that Portnoy said had the best pizza in Miami Beach. I'm gonna say it was mid as fuck. It was not
It
really.
was
that
mid.
good.
I think I know which one you're talking about
Wow.
too.
Really?
I think it was mid. Yeah,
Okay.
I think I went to that exact same one.
Oh, where's Dan at?
think
Dan
so.
went with us. Wasn't that good? It was okay. Wasn't bad, but best ever.
But Lucali's and John's on Bleecker is good shit in New York. Those of you who know, if you know, you know. I don't think Lucali's is overrated. It's really good. Anyway, we can go back to you, Steven.
sorry.
You shill.
No. Go ahead. You wanted to say something that was really important to you. Go ahead.
What I was gonna say is, I think that you're gonna go with Shapiro. I think Shapiro's actually a good choice.
Okay.
that
I
would
don't
be
have.
a really
I don't know
good choice.
anything about any of that. These are the names mentioned.
I also
don't
think
know.
Mark Kelly would be a good choice. Guy
Yeah, I've
that
heard him
puts
floated
Arizona
too.
in play.
Yeah.
But that's like a valuable Senate seat, which is one of the reasons why I falter. But I think the presidency is just so much more valuable than anything else that I would be willing to sacrifice the Senate any day. I would sacrifice I would sacrifice like 100% chance at winning the Senate for a bump in 15% for the presidency. Easy. Do you deny that, Jessiah? Do you agree or disagree?
No, I'd probably pick that too
that's
because
probably
just because you like if the positions reverse and Democrats wanted to do anything, they would need a president to sign it into law because you'll never have a veto-proof supermajority probably like ever. So
Yep.
I'm just saying, why not have both? Like based on the preliminary things I've seen no reason to assume that Mark Kelly is such a good option that like there's no reason to put us in that position. You know what I'm saying?
I
feel like
think that's probably going to go in the calculus, and that's why I think that, like, again, who really does a VP pick matter that much? I don't know. You think it matters? Maybe.
I mean, on the margin, it could, and in
On a tight
such a close election
Yeah.
environment, I'm
Right.
sure.
So then get Shapiro in there. Why not? Try to shore up the Midwest because that's the cleanest path to 270. We want Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. Just pick him or Whitmer, whoever you think. I don't know if they'll pick Whitmer though because they're scared of sexism. Maybe.
Oh my god, it's the dumbest
What do you
thing
think?
ever.
I mean, I'm not saying that's what I think. I'm just saying that's maybe what the brilliant insiders are thinking when they're coming. To
I
that
mean,
decision.
I don't know. People have this weird like. I feel like a lot of people. I just really don't. I think if you're the kind of person who's like, oh yeah, I don't think America can handle a couple women being on the ticket. It's like, dude, that's like such an old school way of thinking. I understand, like obviously, there probably could be some margin of people who are turned off by 2 women being on the ticket, but you have to balance that with what is in reality a portion of independents and a lot of people who might be more inspired by 2 women being on the ticket. And I think as well, we're in such a polarized time that I really do believe that, like when I say that the Democrats could nominate almost anyone and probably still maintain at least our current level of polling, that probably is true. And so, yeah, I think a Whitmer Kamala ticket could be pretty good. You know, I think unfortunately, because it's such a short like time horizon, Kamala can't really pick someone who she could necessarily work with super well. She kind of has to pick almost like a more strategic choice. Because you know, like you don't want like your president and vice president to like end up hating each other or something, but there's not really time to build a personal relationship there. So
yeah, I see that, but I think that Stevens deep down wants transportation mayor Pete Buttigieg.
I love Pete, but I don't think people like that style of candidate for like leadership president or whatever. I like Pete in the last primary.
You want to debate, bro? You want to debate, bro?
No, I want somebody who's incredibly intelligent and makes decisions with like logic and reason and empirical fact gathering and speaks like it and sounds like it. That's why I like Pete.
Yeah.
But you know, I understand you don't like him because he's gay.
Yeah.
It's fine. I get it. The Hispanic background and
no,
everything. It's all
that's
good.
true.
Don't worry. It's okay.
Whoa,
We haven't spoken about it privately. I get it.
You still said that to me too.
I know. Yeah.
That's true.
He speaks a lot about it behind the scenes. It's pretty gross.
I think that Harris Buttigieg ticket would be based. Be super cool. I have no problem with it.
Yeah,
Don't
I'm really
feel
curious.
weird, me.
I'm really curious what like Kamala's platform will end up being, because when she ran in the primary, she didn't run as a relatively progressive person. Like I think she was out in favor of Medicare for all and the Green New Deal, and
very progressive, right?
yeah. Now of course, like online progressives will say she's just a right wing person who likes to lock up black kids, you know, and stuff like that. But when she actually ran, I think she did actually have a relatively progressive voting record, and she did have like quite progressive positions. Like when she ran for president in 2020, it wasn't exactly the easiest thing to be in favor of the Green New Deal and Medicare for all. So
am I making this up, or did she have the most progressive voting record?
I think people compared it to Bernie Sanders, and I think she and Bernie voted together like 95% of the time or something like that. So
okay,
she was extremely like if Bernie is like absolute most progressive, then she was like almost exactly as progressive as Bernie Sanders. But to be fair, I mean, those could have been positions of convenience, so I don't take those criticisms super lightly. It's just that, like for instance, even on Israel-Palestine, I think there was a lot of reporting out that said that she was actually pushing the Biden administration to be even harder on Netanyahu than they were. And so, you know, we'll see, I guess, ultimately what her posture is as a presidential candidate. But I mean, of course, she's much better than Donald Trump. I mean, no matter what, basically. So.
Well, that's a question too. To the extent that baggage over Gaza has weighed Biden down at all, do you think that will transfer to Harris? Like, will Harris be seen as culpable?
I don't know how much I don't know how much Americans care about foreign policy. When it's dominating the news cycle, we do, but I don't know if that'll carry through to like the actual presidential election. I'm not sure. Who knows?
Sure. Well, but to Econoboy's point, I'm just thinking about the margins, right? Like, it's going to be such a tight election. You want to do everything in your power to like min-max support. I wonder to the extent that there's been pushback at all on Biden, if that would transfer to Harris.
I mean, it was genocide.
And then the question
Joe.
is, would it be? Then the question is, would it matter? Like, yeah, there's going to be blowback. I just don't think it'll be outcome determinative.
It was genocide Joe, you know, not like I don't think Kamala was really ever getting a lot of heat because of the Israel-Palestine issue. I mean, to be fair, she might, because she's now the presidential candidate, and I'm sure that's a question she'll have to answer. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what people like Rashida Tlaib, because it feels like a lot of the criticism of the Biden administration has been on Biden specifically. So it'll be interesting to see what like a Rashida Tlaib type will do now that Kamala's the candidate.
She's not.
I'm just not sure.
She's not the candidate yet, but the presumption.
Well, I mean, come on, let's be real. You know, she's got locked up.
I think the fact that so many different constituencies are coming out to support her right now, even if you were to have another candidate, well, one, I think it's going to disincentivize any other candidate to come out, because number one, coming out now as the number one pick will undermine your consideration for the VP pick, which everyone will be gunning for. Yeah. And so the same kind of forces that were at play that were kind of pressuring people not to step up in the actual primary, I think will also be at play for Harris.
Yeah. Well, and then you've also got the fact that like if there are serious candidates do they want to throw their hat in the ring right now, or would they rather wait for a more stable time like 2028?
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, right now, if you're running against Kamala, you're running against the endorsement of Biden, the Obamas, the Clintons, and probably
Did
every
Obama come
major
out and
Democratic donor.
Did Obama endorse?
I believe so. I could be wrong. I thought I saw that, but I mean, even if he didn't, just
Fake
running against the
news.
endorsements of true fake news, even running against the endorsement of Biden and the Clintons and what is probably virtually every major Democratic donor and the Congressional Black Caucus. I mean, I don't know that you'd have such a narrow window for victory. I think if you actually came out and decided to run against Kamala in the convention.
Is this tweet?
Pisco, you know more than.
Wait, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
go
real
on.
quick. I'm sorry because I hate this guy because he's another Russian agent. What a disgusting tweet.
no.
Orca?
Konstantin Kisin. You couldn't write a better finale to the last 8 years than a demented president resigning and handing over the candidacy to someone who was picked because she had a vagina of color.
Disgusting.
Oh
Hateful.
my
Like,
God.
Kamala's experience, like in government as a prosecutor, like compared to,
Trump?
yeah, or
Tried to
yeah, like
coup the government?
yeah, like Trump is literally. I will die on
Trump
this
is
hill.
literally a self-made man, Destiny.
Do you know why Donald Trump right now is leading the ticket? Why he was elected in 2016?
Because he earned it.
It's because he had a fucking TV show. That's the only reason. Without The Apprentice, Donald Trump is never president. Like, literally.
Which he earned.
Shut up.
Thank you. You have no argument against it.
Constantine, he would never like. There is no one in the Democratic Party, I'm convinced. Maybe Joe Manchin, and he's not a Democrat anymore. He's an independent. Maybe Dean Phillips, and that'd probably be pushing it. There's nobody that these centrists would accept. Nobody.
No.
There's not a single person that they would full-throatedly endorse.
No, there is one person they would endorse, and that's if the Democrats chose RFK.
Right. But he's not a Democrat, right? That's what I'm saying.
RFK.
Like, there's no, you could get. I'm trying to think of like maybe Josh Gottheimer or somebody like that. I'm trying to think of somebody as centrist as possible in the Democratic Party. Like, who's a centrist Democratic senator at this point?
They're all just liars and
Yeah.
grifters. I don't buy any of this. It's all garbage. RFK, by the way, is a Trump supporter too. He's the same shit. I totally 100% believe that RFK would trade like his entire candidacy to be Secretary of State or any other position in the Trump administration. They're all grifters.
Yeah, I mean, well, probably, yeah. I mean, I think it'll be, I don't know, it will be interesting to see how the polling shakes out with Kamala being the actual head of the ticket, because I think all the polling is it's hard to disaggregate all the polling available to us because Harris is like inexplicably tied in all this polling to Biden. And so when she actually gets out on her own, it'll be interesting to see not only how she does relative to Trump, but also how she does relative to Kennedy. Like, it'll be interesting to see if the dynamics of him as a third-party candidate change significantly now that Biden isn't the top of the ticket. Like, will she be able to pull more Kennedy voters from Kennedy and make him more of a spoiler for Trump than for Kamala? I don't know.
I think she will be able
interesting.
to. And one thing I want to respond to that Constantine guy. What did he have to say about J.D. Vance? J.D. Vance is a junior senator from Ohio. What experience does he have?
He
wrote a
didn't
book
say
about
shit
Mima.
or celebrated
They
it.
don't say shit.
No.
Whenever you're talking about like the lack of political experience or favoritism or nepotism, holy shit, holy
Yeah, it's not even
garbanzo beans.
close. Look at the fact that
Say it.
I'm screaming into the wind. No, I mean, like, we talk about like bad rhetoric and how unfair it is that people malign Trump and call him Hitler and shit. I mean, JD Vance literally felt like he was Hitler, literally, and he's his VP, right? Or Donald Trump, literally wrote a check, max contribution, I think, right, $5,000 check to Kamala Harris in 2011 for her fucking campaign to reelect her as the Attorney General. I mean, you had Donald Trump showing up in pictures with the Clintons at their fucking wedding. You've got like, there's just so much stupid shit. But they have no rules. They have no rules. That's why, I will reiterate it again, when a conservative comes up to you and he tries to scold you because you're not being fair or you're not being held account to some rule or you're not living up to some standard, you never, ever, ever take conservatives seriously on all of this. You never take a conservative seriously on any of this, ever, okay?
I mean, I think in some regards, though, the flailing to try and come up with like any attack that might stick. Oh, she's DEI. She never earned her position. Oh, she's Kamala. this and that. I think that what that shows is that, or like, oh, the Democrats are actually anti-democracy because of this. It's truly showing the attempt to just try and throw shit at the wall and just hope that anything can stick, because Kamala most likely is just not as polarizing a candidate as Joe Biden, and it is like structurally going to be more difficult to tear her down.
They say that, but like Joe Biden, aside from the senility stuff, I guess after this last debate, was also like not divisive at all, right? Notice that they hung on to that one picture of him in that one speech for the entirety of his fucking presidency. The one with the red light behind him, the zoomed in one. And it was like, even if you listen to that speech, he's like, it's not all Republicans, guys, okay? Just the MAGA, the ones that don't support the election results are the threat to democracy, which they are. But like that, yeah, it doesn't really matter what you are. They'll invent or make up anything to attack you. It's unhinged.
I got one other thing to say. Other thing to say. New York Times, get your shit together, New York Times. We did what your editorial board asked for. Get it together. Get on the team. We know what's going on.
I hear you.
Stop your shit.
Do you follow the New York Times pitch bot on Twitter? Pisco?
Yeah, I do. I do.
That guy's fucking funny. And I haven't checked his page, but I imagine he's got some funny ones too, of like why Kamala Harris should also drop out for the sake of democracy. Steven, did you ever watch The West Wing?
I've seen clips of it, but no, not never even a full episode.
Okay, well, it is in its first 3 or 4 seasons. I do think it's one of the best TV shows in American history. It's really, really good.
Wow.
Aaron Sorkin, the guy who created The West Wing, and some other like really good, like I think it was The Newsroom or America's Newsroom or something like that on HBO. It's really good. He's got a really good mind for TV. He wrote an op-ed for the New York Times. Pisco, have you seen this one?
Oh, did he say we should nominate Mitt Romney?
Mitt Romney.
Sorkin. Get it together, Sorkin.
Yeah. So Steven, he's like, listen, people have been asking me how I would script the West Wing finale to this election, because the West Wing is so idyllic and it's got a good faith Republican Party and an impeccable president. It's political fantasy.
Yeah.
And he said what the Democratic Party should do is persuade President Biden to withdraw, and then, for the sake of unity, nominate Mitt Romney, a Republican, as the Democratic nominee, as a gesture of unity, to unite the American people. Like, even this guy, who is presumably like a dyed-in-the-wool liberal, thinks that like they're so horny to appeal to Republicans that what Democrats should do is not elect a better Democrat or a more electable Democrat. It's just to elect a different type of Republican. So in a way, as far as I'm concerned, this further reinforces what we've been bitching about here and what you've been bitching about here. Like, even like, it's not just them. There are people on our side of the aisle who feel like we have to bend over. Like, we don't just meet in the middle. We have to go all the way up to them and give them 90% of what they want.
And keep in mind, publicly, you never, ever, ever hear these conversations from conservatives. Well, hold on. Are we going to lose the center? Are we going to lose liberals on this one? And in the behind-the-scenes stuff, right, for the Dominion Fox News stuff, it's what lies can we tell so that we don't lose our conservative base to like even more further right publications. There's never a consideration of like, well, are the moderates not going to trust us anymore? Like, they don't even consider it. Yeah, they only bang the war drums on their side and attack the other. There's never a consideration for people in the middle there.
Right. Did anybody prior to J.D. Vance being selected as Donald Trump's nominee, think about this, were there, maybe I missed them, maybe they were out there, were there calls by major conservative figures or Republicans that Donald Trump should nominate, I don't know, fucking Chuck Schumer, or somebody like that, like a Democrat, to try to appeal to the other? No, of course not.
Well, there were a lot of calls on Twitter that were very upset, to be fair, that J.D. Vance's wife was brown. They did complain about that.
True.
I don't know how mainstream that got in the Republican Party. There's a lot of talk on Twitter over that. They really didn't like the fact she was Indian, but
Right, but
when
I
Steven
mean,
says a lot of talk on Twitter, he just means Nick Fuentes. See that too?
No, there were a few really big tweets and a lot of discourse over it. Now, but I don't know. It wasn't like lawmakers. It wasn't like mainstay Republican parties. Also, I don't know again what I even trust on fucking Twitter, but yeah.
Well,
look,
actually,
the right realizes they reveal they hate Indian women. We nominate an Indian woman. It's perfect. It's poetic.
True.
That's how it should be.
Wait, didn't Hutch join?
Yeah, Hutch joined, but then he said he realized that Destiny was banned on Twitch.
Lol.
Rest in
Crazy,
peace,
huh?
Actually,
Yeah.
So Twitch is
For hate speech.
unbanning Donald Trump, but Steven is still banned.
And
So-
Sneeko.
Sounds like the
And
quick-
also, but I do want to say, finally, Twitch respected me a little bit, and I do appreciate it, that when
Yeah.
Nathan was making threats against my life, he was the first person to get banned from Twitch for making threats against my life. Not the actual
Oh, no,
guys.
Wait, your son was banned
Yes.
from Twitch?
Not the other guys
The
that were
whole
saying,
Borelli
when I see
family.
Destiny, it's
You're
going to be
kidding.
on site, okay? Or that Destiny's family should have been killed to prevent slave owners from ever, like, making children. None of those guys
You're
got,
lying. Wait,
no.
wait.
You got
Wait.
permabanned or indefinitely suspended, but yeah.
You didn't see this piece?
Thank
Joe? Yeah, this is
God. Thank
hilarious.
God. Thank you. Twitch is finally
He got
protecting
banned-
me.
He got banned for threatening you?
I think so, yeah.
Nathan like
What did he
cocks
say?
a gun and says he's gonna kill Destiny and then leaves the room.
Why
and
does
then
he have a
gets
gun?
banned.
Isn't he like 12?
Yeah, it
he's
was a real gun.
13. Okay. It wasn't a real gun.
Was that a gun?
It wasn't
Oh.
a real gun.
No, it was real. Don't
Yeah,
let Destiny
true.
lie
You
to
gotta,
you,
be, you
Pisco.
gotta be careful.
No, that's pretty hilarious though. The whole Borelli family banned
Okay.
from Twitch now.
Uh-oh.
The other hot question: President Biden was supposed to have a second debate with Trump in September. Will
no.
Trump debate?
No.
No, I don't think
Trump
he
is
will.
going to say that it was anti-democratic and he doesn't support it, and he's not going to give air to it. He's not going to give any oxygen. Yeah. And all the Republicans,
such a
every
bad
single
look.
Republican that screamed about how important it was to have debates and how we need to have these democracies, all of them are going to say, oh, actually, I agree with Trump. We shouldn't have any debates. That's true because they have no values and they have no principles.
Dude. That would look so. I mean, I guess it would look bad to a certain audience, but yeah, you're right. Probably
To
the
who?
Republican
Who?
base
To
isn't
what
gonna
audience?
care.
Not to any Republican. No Republican. Every single
Right,
Republican.
not the
Remember,
Republican
when
base.
Donald Trump says things, okay? You remember Erythroprose dilemma or whatever? I don't remember the name. Is something good because it does God command things because they're good, or are they good because God commands it? Well, for Trump, him being a god, we decided that things are good when Trump says they're good. There is no goodness before Trump says it. But once he says it, everybody gets the orders beamed into their fucking brain, and then it's lockstep. Oh, he said this thing. Well, now we all of a sudden support this thing. Do we like Russia today or do we not like Russia today? Do we have a strong foreign policy today or are we isolationist today? Whatever the fuck Trump says, it's 100% like lockstep with every conservative immediately after. Yeah.
Kamala debates RFK Jr. on a stage, destroys them, and that's the debate. Easy.
Yeah. Harris,
Why not?
she's like improved her speaking pattern too in terms of like not sounding, I don't know, mumbling or incoherent.
Do not come.
There was a time where she was kind of giving word salad, but now I feel like she's direct, she's on point, she gets it. She trained.
Pisco.
Yeah, I mean,
She's ready.
she's been
when,
in the
when
spotlight
you get
for a
some
little
free
bit.
time, Pisco, you should know that you're the man you respect above all others for political commentary, Professor Alan Lichtman.
Oh,
The
just put a-
keys.
the
just
keys.
put
Wait,
out-
I'm sorry, real quick, because I don't have to listen. Let me read this real quick.
13
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Donald Trump 1 minute ago, 16 minutes ago. 16 minutes ago. Does anybody really believe that Crooked Joe had COVID? No, he wanted to get out ever since June 27th, the night of the debate, where he was completely obliterated. That was the big moment in Joe Biden's demise. That was the point in time when Joe was revealed for what he is, an incompetent man who should have never been president. Joe Biden is not fit to serve. He's destroying our country. 1 minute ago, my debate with Crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States, was slated to be broadcast on fake news ABC, the home of George Slopadopoulos, sometime in December.
What a fucker.
Now that Joe has, not surprisingly, has quit the race, I think the debate with whomever the radical left Democrats choose should be held on Fox News rather than very biased ABC. Thank you,
Why not?
DJT.
Do it. Fuck it. I don't care.
Yeah. Fox
Do
has hosted debates before. I mean, it's
Do
not like
it.
they are disastrous.
Yeah, but
He
I think
accepts.
if they do it, I don't know what those rules will look like, or if Donald wants them to do it. I don't know what the communication behind the scenes will even
We'll
look
just
like.
make them good rules. Whatever. Just agree to the rules. that
Yeah,
we-
but will
rules
Donald Trump agree to good rules?
I don't know about
I mean, what rules could he ask for that, like,
She doesn't
would
get
be
a
that bad?
microphone. I get to mute her microphone.
like, no
And she says
microphone.
things I
She's
don't
not allowed to be
like.
on stage. She has to sit in the audience.
You can't talk about my record or things I've said in
wow.
the past.
Let's.
Yeah.
But at least shows that he seems to be willing to do something.
Yeah, but to Steven's point, he can publicly say this shit. He can indicate, hey, listen, I am willing to debate whoever. It just has to be on home turf. And then the vice president could just call his bluff and be like, yeah, sure, Donald, whatever. And then he would change it tomorrow, and Republicans
bad,
would forget all
then.
about it. You know?
Fuck it. Make
Whatever.
him look even worse.
Good development today, boys. Really good. This was episode 5 of Live and Learn, just minus
Yeah.
Hutch. But yeah, thank you all for being here. We're gonna end the stream right now, and yeah, have a great rest of your weekend.
Shut up.
Yeah.
There you go. Rest in peace, Pisco. Well, Destiny, wait, what do you think about this though? Because you were
Wait, one last thing. The keys, the 13 keys. What's the key for leaving the race?
That's
Or
the
almost getting
incumbency.
shot?
That's
Oh, that's the
the
incumbency key?
Lichtman has made it clear that in order to satisfy the keys, Biden should resign the presidency, such that Kamala is the incumbent and
she gets the
retains the
incumbency keys.
incumbency key.
That's the formalism he's going with. All right, whatever. I don't like that analysis, but bye, everybody.
Pisco hates Alan Lichtman. That's his
All right,
least
I'm
favorite
out.
person.
Conboy, Steven, good to chat with you guys. You have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
I guess I'll leave too. I don't want to talk to just Destiny now
Wow.
that Jessiah and Pisco are gone. But all right, see you later. Have a fun rest of your stream, my dude.
Wait, can I ask you a question?
Yep, sure. What's up?
Here's something that I'm curious about. Okay, first of all, tell me if you feel like this is a fair or accurate summary. The big issue at the border right now is the fact that the way that our laws are written, anybody can basically just walk up and ask for asylum, and they're basically guaranteed to get in the U.S. and then get a ticket for a court date. That it's a huge issue right now. Do you agree that that's a fair summary or no?
Yeah, on our Policy 3 Wonks podcast, we did an episode on the border, and that does seem to be the issue where it seems like there's essentially I honestly I guess it's just a realization that this is the case, that you could go through the lengthy sort of legal immigration process, or you could just try to sneak in to the border. But then there's a realization that it's you could just claim asylum.
Yeah.
And because the asylum process is so backed up and takes so long, you even if you get kicked out of the country, you still get several years of working in America.
Can you tell me why did this just become a thing? Why weren't people abusing this 10 years ago? Or did something significantly change about asylum seeking, or why, or did people just realize this, or what?
This would be conjecture, but if I looked into it, I would assume that it would be because when Trump took office, he took such an incredibly hard stance on illegal immigration that because illegal immigrants aren't stupid or anything. They have there's clear strategies for immigrating to the United States in an undocumented sense that spread around to people who want to enter into the country. And my assumption would be that when Trump took office, there was an understanding that, well, hey, you can't really just sneak into the country as easily as you used to. However, there is a legal process for claiming asylum that you can take advantage of in that circumstance. And that's where the Remain in Mexico policies start to come in, where it's hey, if you want to seek asylum, you have to stay in Mexico, this kind of thing. And so my assumption would be that's where it kind of started to, be popularized, and maybe COVID has something to do with it as well. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reform that probably needs to happen to the asylum seeking process. Alex Narasto, in a conversation I had with him a long time ago, one thing that he pointed to was that the people perceive problems where there is chaos. And so even if the problem at the border is because of people taking advantage of a legal process, that because it causes chaos to have so many people coming into the country, they're going to perceive that as a very chaotic and poor process. And so if all we did was just liberalize work permits and allow people to come in a more orderly process instead of having them all stack up into one, asylum seeking or refugee process, that would probably lead to a lot less polarization on the border, because people just wouldn't see a chaotic process. They would just kind of, maybe there'd be some notion of immigrants taking work visas, but that's a much less apparent problem than a bunch of people stacking up in an asylum process. So.
Yeah, the problem is that I feel like liberals don't have that strong of a position on immigration because it just seems unsolvable. It seems like nobody wants to come together to do anything. And then conservatives don't have a coherent position on it either. So it's I don't know if there's nobody seems to know, I don't think anybody even knows what they want immigration to the United States to look like. Conservatives seem to say they want nobody except for high-skilled workers, which is equally retarded, as saying you only want low-skilled workers. That's all workers are valuable. And then all they say is liberals want open borders, but I don't know any poll that shows that liberals want open borders. That's a fictitious position. So immigration is a very annoying thing to. Yeah, nobody has there's no serious conversations on it. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's, I don't know. I guess it's similar to Israel-Palestine, where you have said, well, what it's going to take with Israel Palestine is leaders who come together and are willing to concede things. And I think that, and in some regards, take political hits for doing so. And I think that with the undocumented immigrant issue, I think what it's going to take is just some coalescence of political circumstance such that we create a seriously expedited path to residency for all of these undocumented immigrants, and then probably reform the asylum process, but also reform our broader immigration process so that if you're basically just an immigrant who wants to come and work here, that's not like an impossible process. Because again, like when conservatives talk about this problem, it's like, well, why are people choosing to go through the asylum process? Well, they're doing that because it's just the easiest way to come here and work for the most part, right? It's not like immigrants have super easy access to welfare benefits or anything like that. I mean, you can look at, how much welfare immigrants take in and how much they pay into the systems. It's not really bankrupting us in any sense.
Well, not even bankrupting. I believe the largest piece I've read on this, I think I have this link to my doc, shows that counterintuitively, illegal immigrants are either neutral to positive impacting on fiscal on budgets. And the reason being is because, like you said, oftentimes they have either fake social security numbers or none. So they're just like, they're paying taxes sometimes into systems, and then they don't actually get anything back for it because they can't access any of those like welfare benefits or anything else. So they just end up.
Or the fact that, like, if we understand that the welfare state is mostly a system to help non-workers, which is definitively the case. Our two biggest pieces of welfare spending that we do, like half the federal budget or some crazy percentage, 40% of it is just Medicare and Social Security. Even if you were to allow in,
I don't know if I would say half. Isn't it like 2/3? You're talking about, that's essentially all entitlement spending, right? Or is there entitlement spending that's not just Social Security and Medicare?
The last I checked, don't we spend like about $2 to $3 trillion a year on both of those programs? And I think the whole federal budget is maybe $5 or $6 trillion.
Really?
So I'm not sure what
is our discretionary. I thought that non-discretionary was like 2/3 of the budget about, and then discretionary was like about 1/3 approximately.
Well, no, nonetheless, it's just a huge percentage, obviously, of our spending is just helping elderly people basically stay out of poverty. And when you consider that, if you were to allow in all these immigrants, they necessarily wouldn't drain the system because they're all workers. They're working, right? They're not a bunch of old disabled people who are immediately going to go on to benefits. They're prime age workers. Right? It's one of the reasons why people say, oh, immigrants are more likely to commit crime. Well, they're more likely to commit crime because they're younger. Right? These are young working people. And so those people pay into systems more so than they take out of them, because welfare is not a system to give poor people money. It's a system to give non-workers money. And so you let in a bunch of workers, you're going to be able to fund your systems a lot better. So the fiscal arguments have obviously always been pretty crazy. Like some conservatives will say, oh, well, what about all the kids that go to public school? It's like, yeah, but those kids are fiscal multipliers, right? Because you invest in their education and then they become workers, right? Like it's not like kids just go from school to being immediately disabled and unable to work, right? This is a huge misunderstanding of the welfare state. But honestly, it's probably not a misunderstanding. It's just an excuse to keep brown people out of the country, right? It's just, I think a lot of it just comes down to, frankly, just like racism. I think that a lot of conservatives who are super duper against immigrants, they just really don't like basically like non-white immigrants coming into the country for the most part, right?
It's just weird and dumb, and it's based on a lot of weird protectionist ideas that like immigrants will come in, and even when our unemployment is at like 2.9%, they're still somehow like stealing all the jobs, and Americans can't work, and it's just like it's just dumb, unhinged.
Yeah, it's totally ridiculous. But anyway, I mean, overall, immigration is obviously a relatively big problem. But I mean, what people have to keep in mind is that the only reason that America is a world superpower is because of a liberal immigration policy, right? I mean, imagine if, to the white nationalists out there, like imagine if Imagine if the only stock of people in America was only ever like the Anglo-Saxons that like came over from the UK. And we didn't have the huge waves of German, Irish, Polish, Italian, Mexican, Indian, Chinese immigration across. We would be a country that would have like 25 million people, and we'd be just as irrelevant as a country as like fucking Belgium or something, right? Like we wouldn't be a serious country without immigration. And so it's obviously just it's just a ton of fear mongering. But I guess it is funny that somebody named Nick Fuentes is super against.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, they're very, very racially diverse. Yeah.
Very diverse group of white nationalists.
They are indeed. Yeah.
But what are you gonna do? But anyway, all right. Anything else, Destiny? It was fun talking.
No. See what happens. I love you. Be careful, bud.
See you, bud. Bye.
Well, Republican source tells Politico that Trump is unlikely to debate Kamala Harris, saying he'll likely call her an illegitimate candidate. I am writing the script for reality, by the way. Hold on. What is today? Is Sunday. Jesus Christ, really? Debating Andrew on the Andrew Wilson. Oh boy. On Thursday, though. Shit posting on Twitter. Is Myron hosting? Yeah, I think Myron's going to moderate. Why do you accept dog shit moderators? Myron has actually been probably one of the best moderators that I think I've had for any debate. I think most of the debates I've had where Myron is moderating, I think he heavily agrees with the other side, like in the Rollo Tomasi one and in the one with the Suleiman guy or whatever. But I think he's done a pretty fair job moderating at all of them. I don't think he's ever done anything wacky or stupid or ever, yeah. Wait, okay. I just wanted to read this real quick. I'm sorry, because this comes up, has to do with a judicial review, I guess. I'm going to do anything else with Dan in about an hour, just so you know I'll be doing that. So I'm going to have to take off soon to go set up, but let's read this real quick first. Federalist number 78. The Judiciary Department. This would have been written in, these were all written in what? 1770, 6 through 8? I think. Oh, wait, 1780s? Oh, I'm sorry, might have been. This one is 1788. Oh, damn. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. This was way later than I thought. My bad. Okay. All right. Here we go. To the people of the state of New York, we proceed now to examine of the Judiciary Department of the proposed government. So As a refresher, the Federalist Papers were a lot of the founding fathers writing to newspapers, making arguments for federalizing the independent colonies and everything to make a cohesive government, and then arguing about what the structure of that government should ultimately look like under pseudonyms. The Federalist Papers are their writings that are being published. Okay, so the author for this one is Alexander Hamilton. We proceed now to an examination of the Judiciary Department of the proposed government. And unfolding, I'm reading this because supposedly this is a precursor to, or Pisco says there was good founding father justification for the judicial review that was granted in Marbury v. Madison. Marbury is probably the most famous Supreme Court case that granted the Supreme Court the ability to have judicial review, which gives them the ability to take a law from Congress and say, this law doesn't comport with the Constitution, so we're going to strike down this law, right? We proceed now to an examination of the Judiciary Department of the proposed government. In unfolding the defects of the existing confederation, the utility and necessity of a federal judicature have been clearly pointed out. It is the less necessary to recapitulate the considerations there urged, as the propriety of the institution in the abstract is not disputed. The only questions which have been raised being relative to the manner of constituting it and to its extent. To these points, therefore, our observations shall be confined. Okay. So he's saying we all know that we need one. We're not going to argue whether or not we need one or not, but just more like what should it look like, I think is this. Okay. The manner of constituting it seems to embrace these several objects. First, the mode of appointing judges. 2, the tenure by which they are to hold their places. 3, the partition of the judiciary authority between different courts and their relations to each other. First, as to the mode of appointing the judges, this is the same with that of appointing the officers of the Union in general, and has been so fully discussed in the 2 last numbers that nothing can be said here which would not be useless repetition. So officers in the United States, in the federal government under the executive branch, all of the different agencies are offices. So like the DEA is an agency, the DOJ is an agency, the EPA is an agency. Agencies are created by Congress, authorized by law. And then when the agency is created, the President of the United States has the ability to appoint the head of an agency. For the big ones, this is called his cabinet, are composed of these people. And the heads are called their officers. The President, unless Congress says explicitly authorized, the President has the right granted by the Constitution to appoint or to nominate for appointment an officer, the head of an agency or an office. And then with the Senate will confirm that, and then that's where these agent heads come from, right? Or officers, right? I don't think we usually call them officers anymore. We call them cabinet members, or we call them the heads of agencies, but yeah. Second, and they're saying, well, we've already talked about how we do appointments. We don't need to talk about more appointments. Now we've already figured out in the last 2 papers. Second, as to the tenure by which the judges are to hold their places, this chiefly concerns their duration in office, the provisions for their support, the precautions for their responsibility. According to the plan of the convention, all judges who may be appointed by the United States are to hold their offices during good behavior, which is conformable to the most approved of the state constitutions, and among the rest to that of this state. Its propriety, having been drawn into question by the adversaries of that plan, is no light symptom of the rage for objection which disorders their imaginations and judgments. Damn, wait, who wrote 70? What did we read before? Who wrote Federalist Papers 70? Hold on. Was this? Okay, damn, okay. This is written with significantly more elevated prose than some of the other ones I've read. Who wrote 77? Oh, were they all? Okay, all right. Okay. The standard of good behavior for the continuance in office of the judicial magistracy is certainly one of the most valuable of the modern improvements in the practice of government. In a monarchy, it is an excellent barrier to the despotism of the prince. In a republic, it is no less excellent. It is a no less excellent barrier to the encroachments and oppressions of the representative body. And it is the best expedient which can be devised in any government to secure a steady, upright, and impartial administration of the laws. So a lot of the Federalist Papers, they talk about like the British system, they talk about monarchies, and in here they're saying, well, a strong judiciary can protect a prince from anything, and it can even protect a Congress from anything, right? It's no less excellent barrier to the encroachments and oppressions of the representative body, that Congress could make laws and the judiciary can defend them. But it's also a really good way to secure a steady, upright, and impartial administration of the laws, right? Which is when you talk about whenever you talk about administration of laws or execution of laws from Congress, you're always talking about the executive. You're talking about the president. Whoever attentively considers the different departments of power must perceive that in a government in which they are separated from each other, the judiciary, from the nature of its functions, will always be the least dangerous to the political rights of the Constitution because it will be least in a capacity to annoy or injure them. The executive not only dispenses the honors, but holds the sword of the community. The legislature not only commands the purse, but prescribes the rules by which the duties and rights of every citizen are to be regulated. The judiciary, on the contrary, has no influence over either the sword or the purse, no direction either of the strength or of the wealth of the society, and can take no active resolution whatever. It may truly be said to have neither force nor will, but merely judgment, and must ultimately depend upon the aid of the executive arm, even for the efficacy of its judgments. I feel like this is an argument against judicial review, but I guess we'll get there. So here they're saying that, like, well, we shouldn't be threatened by judges in terms of how they can attack us, because the judiciary basically can only hold the executive to account and prevent the legislature from doing wacky shit. They can't. The judges are neither executors of power, nor are they writers of legislation for power, right? The simple view of the matter suggests several important consequences. It proves, incontestably, that the judiciary is beyond comparison the weakest of the three departments of power, that can never attack with success either of the other two, and that all possible care is requisite to enable it to defend itself against their attacks. It equally proves that though individual oppression may now and then proceed from the courts of justice, the general liberty of the people can never be endangered from that quarter. I mean, so long as the judiciary remains truly distinct from both the legislature and the executive. For I agree that there is no liberty if the power of judging be not separated from the legislative and executive powers. And it proves, in the last place, that as liberty can have nothing to fear from the judiciary alone, but that would have everything to fear from its union with either of the other departments. Saying that, so a judiciary that stands on its own should never threaten liberty, but a judiciary aligned with one of the other departments would be a grave threat, which makes sense, remember, because up here he said that a judiciary could protect a corrupt prince and it could protect a corrupt legislature, right? Makes sense. That is, all the effects of such a union must ensue from a dependence of the former on the latter, notwithstanding a nominal and apparent separation, that as from the natural feebleness of the judiciary, it is in continual jeopardy of being overpowered, awed, or influenced by its coordinate branches, and that as nothing can contribute so much to its firmness and independence as permanency in office. This quality may therefore be justly regarded as an indispensable ingredient in its constitution, and, in a great measure, as the citadel of the public justice and the public security. So arguing that because these other two branches are so politically beholden, that the judiciary should stand as lifetime appointments, essentially, because it insulates them from the political pressures of Congress or the executive, right? The complete independence of the courts of justice is peculiarly essential in a limited constitution. By a limited constitution, I understand one which contains certain specified exceptions to the legislative authority, such, for instance, as that it shall pass no bills of attainder, no ex post facto laws, and the like. Ex post facto law, I believe, refers to the idea that you pass a law criminalizing prior behavior that now you can be held criminally liable for. Is a bill of attainder something that circumvents your due process? Hold on, let me check this real quick. A bill of attainder is a law that punishes a person or group without a judicial trial. Okay. Okay, and the like. So this is saying that a limited constitution is one that even the legislature is not allowed to pass a law that would arrest people with no due process, or pass laws that would criminalize past behavior that you would now be held criminally liable for, right? Limitations of this kind can be preserved in practice no other way than through the medium of courts of justice, whose duty it must be to declare all acts contrary to the manifest tenor of the Constitution void. Without this, all the reservations of particular rights or privileges would amount to nothing. Okay, this is your strong argument for judicial review then. Okay. Some perplexity respecting the rights of the courts to pronounce legislative acts void, because contrary to the Constitution, has arisen from an imagination that the doctrine would imply a superiority of the judiciary to the legislative power. It is urged that the authority which can declare the acts of another void must necessarily be superior to the one whose acts must be declared void. As this doctrine is of great importance in all the American constitutions, a brief discussion of the ground on which it rests cannot be unacceptable. So some people argue that, oh, well, fine, if the judiciary can just nullify anything from the legislature, it must be superior to the legislature. And Hamilton says, just because you can say that an act coming from them is void doesn't mean that you have more power than the people passing the act. So that's not true. And you'll go on to argue this. There are no position which depends on clearer principles than that every act of a delegated authority, contrary to the tenor of the commission under which it is exercised, is void. Okay, so he's saying one of the most essential ideas of governance is that if you delegate something to an authority, whatever is doing the delegation must be supporting the delegated power, right? If you delegate it, you can't, something that's contrary to the tenor of the commission would be void. You can't have the Constitution granting something to the legislature and then the legislature defies the Constitution, then the defiance would make whatever that act is a void act, essentially, right? No legislative act, therefore, contrary to the Constitution, can be valid. To deny this would be to affirm that the deputy is greater than his principal, that the servant is above his master, that the representatives of the people are superior to the people themselves, that men acting by virtue of powers may do not only what their powers do not authorize, but what they forbid. Just reinforcing that. The Louder with Crowder CEO wants to talk. Ooh. Throw me in anytime you want, Chief. Smiley face. If it be said, there's not too much more of this. Okay. If it be said that the legislative body are themselves the constitutional judges of their own powers, and that the construction that they put upon them is conclusive upon the other departments, it may be answered that this cannot be the natural presumption, where it is not to be collected from any particular provisions in the Constitution. Whenever you see the word construction, I believe that construction refers to the idea of deciding whether or not a particular thing is in concordance with the thing that authorizes it, with the law that authorizes it. So when you talk about statutory construction, you're talking about a judiciary system reviewing a thing, or somebody reviewing a thing, saying, does this comport with the law? I think that's statutory construction. So Congress passes a law and somebody wants to say, does this comport with the Constitution? Is this actually like a legal law? Can you really pass this? That would be a statutory construction. So this is saying you can't allow the body passing laws to do statutory construction on their own. That would be ridiculous because then they could pass whatever they want and decide whatever they pass is legal. There'd be no, they'd have no check on their power there. It is not otherwise to be supposed that the Constitution could intend to enable the representatives of the people to substitute their will to that of the constituents. It is far more rational to suppose that the courts were designed to be an intermediate body between the people and the legislature, in order, among other things, to keep the latter within the limits assigned to their authority. The interpretation of the laws is the proper and peculiar province of the courts. A constitution is, in fact, and must be regarded by the judges as a fundamental law. It therefore belongs to them to ascertain its meaning, as well as the meaning of any particular act proceeding from the legislative body. If there should happen to be an irreconcilable variance between the two, that which has the superior obligation and validity ought, of course, to be preferred, Or, in other words, the Constitution ought to be preferred to the statute, the intention of the people to the intention of their agents. So basically saying that, like, if there's a disagreement between what a judge would say Congress says versus what the Constitution says, the Constitution is not federal law, okay? I kind of argued with this. I don't know what a law professor would say. This is a feeling that I have. I could be wrong. If there's a federal, or if there's a constitutional lawyer wants to disagree, feel free to let me know. But, like, I don't think you shouldn't conceive of the Constitution as federal law. It's not. Federal law is passed by the legislature, and they get their mandate, their power from the Constitution. Okay, so it's not like federal statutes and laws and like the Constitution and the amendments are all the same. They're not. It is the Constitution is the engine that powers things like the legislative body, which then passes federal laws. And if you have an irreconcilability between a federal law and the Constitution is always preferred because you're not comparing one law to another. You're comparing the supreme law or the Constitution to a statute or a law passed by the Congress, which gets its power or authority from the Constitution, right? And they're saying that obviously it's the judiciary that makes these decisions. Nor does this conclusion by any means suppose a superiority of the judicial to the legislative power. It only supposes that the power of the people is superior to both, and that where the will of the legislature, declared in its statutes, stands in opposition to that of the people, declared in the Constitution, the judges ought to be governed by the latter rather than by the former. So because the Constitution represents the will of the people, anytime the Constitution and the legislature disagree, or the will of the legislature disagrees, judges ought to be here to preserve adherence to the Constitution, not to the legislature, right? They ought to regulate their decisions by the fundamental laws rather than by those which are not fundamental. Constitutional law versus statutes passed by Congress. This exercise of judicial discretion in determining between two contradictory laws is exemplified in a familiar instance. It not uncommonly happens that there are two statutes existing at one time, clashing in whole or in part with each other, and neither of them containing any repealing clause or expression. In such a case, it is the province of the courts to liquidate and fix their meaning and operation. So far as they can, by any fair construction, be reconciled to each other, reason and law conspire to dictate that this should be done. Where this is impractical, it becomes a matter of necessity to give effect to one in exclusion of the other. So talking about, well, what happens when you pass two laws and they seem to be in discord with each other? Something is contradictory. One law says one thing, the other law says another thing, they stand in direct opposition, right? The rule which has obtained in the courts for determining their relative validity is that the last in order of time shall be preferred to the first. But this is a mere rule of construction, not derived from any positive law, but from the nature and reason of the thing. It is a rule not enjoined upon the courts by legislative provision, but adopted by themselves as consonant to truth and propriety for the direction of their conduct as interpreters of the law. They thought it reasonable that between the interfering acts of an equal authority, that which was the last indication of its will should have the preference. So it's saying, well, one way the courts resolve this, let's say there's a law that says cars should be legal, another law says cars shouldn't be legal. Well, what was the last law that the legislature passed? It's the one that says cars shouldn't be legal. So even if they didn't include a clause saying we're going to repeal the last law, you would probably prefer the last one because it seems to be representing the will of the legislature, right? But in regard to the interfering acts of a superior and subordinate authority, but keep in mind here, he's talking about only when you're talking about an equal authority, meaning one law passed by the legislature compared to another law passed by the legislature, right? But in regard to the interfering acts of a superior and subordinate authority, of an original and derivative power, right? The Constitution and the legislature is an original, the Constitution, derivative power, the legislature that derives its power from the Constitution. The nature and reason of the thing indicate the converse of that rule as proper to be followed. They teach us that the prior act of a superior ought to be preferred to the subsequent act of an inferior and subordinate authority, and that accordingly, whenever a particular statute contravenes the Constitution, it will be the duty of the judicial tribunals to adhere to the latter and disregard the former. So obviously saying that a court should rule in concordance with the superior governing authority, even if an inferior one disagrees at a later point in time. It can be of no weight to say that the courts, on the pretense of a repugnancy, may substitute their own pleasure to the constitutional intentions of the legislature. This might as well happen in the case of two contradictory statutes, or it might as well happen in every adjudication upon any single statute. The courts must declare the sense of the law, and if they should be disposed to exercise will instead of judgment, the consequence would equally be the substitution of their pleasure to that of the legislative body. The observation, if it prove anything, would prove that there ought to be no judges distinct from that body. So they're saying that the judiciary exists only for statutory construction, not to impose their will, not to write legislation, right? This is when people call legislating from the bench. This is kind of what they're talking about. Not that judges aren't there to write legislation. They're only there to impose their judgment, deciding if a thing is with concordance with the law or not. Otherwise, if judges could write their own legislation, then they're not distinct at all from the legislative body itself, right? This is one of the chief arguments kind of against the idea of Roe v. Wade. The construction of like the right to privacy from, your penumbra of rights, you're, trying to figure out these, they're saying that, oh, well, hold on. It feels like judges are writing legislation. All right, it's kind of, yeah. If, then, the courts of justice are to be considered as the bulwarks of a limited constitution against legislative encroachments, this consideration will afford a strong argument for the permanent tenure of judicial offices, since nothing will contribute so much as this to that independent spirit in the judges which must be essential to the faithful performance of so arduous a duty. The independence of the judges is equally requisite to guard the Constitution and the rights of individuals from the effects of those ill humors which the arts of designing men or the influence of particular conjunctures sometimes disseminate among the people themselves, and which, though they speedily give place to better information and more deliberate reflection, have a tendency, in the meantime, to occasion dangerous innovations in the government and serious oppressions of the minor party in the community. So you need independence because if you don't have independence, sometimes you get individuals that want to do wacky and crazy things, especially because of political influence and the desire to win re-election and to run again. And right, so you want them to be shielded from this. So this Federalist paper is making arguments for the lifetime appointments, basically, as an essential safeguard of the independence of the judiciary, right? Though I trust the friends of the proposed Constitution will never concur with its enemies in questioning that fundamental principle of Republican government, which admits the right of the people to alter or abolish the established Constitution whenever they find it inconsistent with their happiness, yet it is not to be inferred from this principle that the representatives of the people, whenever a momentary inclination happens to lay hold of a majority of their constituents incompatible with the provisions in the existing Constitution, would, on that account, be justifiable in a violation of those provisions, or that the courts would be under a greater obligation to connive at infractions in this shape than when they had proceeded wholly from the cabals of the representative body. That's a strong statement. Basically saying that we trust people to do the right thing. However, if at some moment in time they decide to rise up and fight against the Constitution, the legislature should not have the ability to do that. The judiciary will hold firm and do their constitutional interpretations as such. And if the legislature really wants to fight the Constitution, they need to change the Constitution. They can't put themselves above it. They have to change it. Until the people have, by some solemn and authoritative act, and he's about to say this here, annulled or changed the established form, it is binding upon themselves collectively, as well as individually, the presumptive form being the constitutional, basically set out, the legislative declaration set out in the Constitution, right? As well as individually, and no presumption or even knowledge of their sentiments can warrant their representatives in a departure from it prior to such an act. You cannot violate the Constitution without changing the Constitution, right? But it is easy to see that it would require an uncommon portion of fortitude in the judges to do their duty as faithful guardians of the Constitution, where legislative invasions of it had been instigated by the major voice of the community. So if there was a moment in time where people were being wacky and crazy and your judges had to run for re-election, it's easy to see that it would require an uncommon portion of fortitude. It would require an uncommon will for a judge to resist that political inclination, right? It would be very difficult. But it is not with a view to infractions of the Constitution only that the independence of the judges may be an essential safeguard against the effects of occasional ill humors in the society. These sometimes extend no farther than to the injury of the private rights of particular classes of citizens by unjust and partial laws. Here also, the firmness of the judicial magistracy magistracy is of vast importance in mitigating the severity and confining the operation of such laws. It not only serves to moderate the immediate mischiefs of those which may have been passed, but it operates as a check upon the legislative body in passing them, who, perceiving that obstacles to the success of iniquitous intention are to be expected from the scruples of the courts, are in a manner compelled by the very motives of the injustice they mediate to qualify their attempts. I think this is basically arguing, it's saying that just by virtue of having an independent judiciary, you ensure better laws from the legislature because they know that the judiciary is going to be checking you, right? The firmness of the magistracy, the firmness and the separation of the courts serves to moderate the immediate mischiefs of those, right? It operates as a check upon the legislative body in passing them, right? That the legislature will take into account, we try to do this, courts will fuck us, so that, right, that helps, right? Yeah. This is a circumstance calculated to have more influence upon the character of our governments than but few may be aware of. The benefits of the integrity and moderation of the judiciary have already been felt in more states than one, and though they may have displeased those whose sinister expectations they may have disappointed, they must have commanded the esteem and applause of all the virtuous and disinterested. Considerate men of every description ought to prize whatever will tend to beget or fortify that temper in the courts, as no man can be sure that he may not be tomorrow the victim of a spirit of injustice, by which he may be a gainer today. And basically saying that, like, you should champion when the courts shut down stuff because, hey, it might be you getting fucked tomorrow, right? And every man must now feel that the inevitable tendency of such a spirit is to sap the foundations of public and private confidence and to introduce in its stead universal distrust and distress. You can't let people break laws, like the legislature break laws, because it would fuck with everybody. Nobody would trust the system, right? That inflexible and uniform adherence to the rights of the Constitution and of individuals, which we perceive to be indispensable in the courts of justice, can certainly not be expected from judges who hold their offices by a temporary commission. Periodical appointments, however regulated, or by whomsoever made, would, in some way or other, be fatal to their necessary independence. If the power of making them was committed either to the executive or legislature, there would be danger of an improper complaisance to the branch which possessed it. If to both, there would be an unwillingness to hazard the displeasure of either. If to the people, or to persons chosen by them for the special purpose, there would be too great a disposition to consult popularity to justify a reliance that nothing would be consulted but the Constitution and the laws. So basically saying that, like, if the justices have to rely on the president's approval, then they're going to always support the president. And if they've got to rely on the legislature's approval, they're always going to support the legislature. There is yet a further and a weightier reason for the permanency of the judicial offices, which is deducible from the nature of the qualifications they require. It has been frequently remarked with great propriety that a voluminous code of laws is one of the inconveniences necessarily connected with the advantages of a free government. To avoid an arbitrary discretion in the courts, it is indispensable that they should be bound down by strict rules and precedents which serve to define and point out their duty in every particular case that comes before them. And it will readily be conceived from the variety of controversies which grow out of the folly and wickedness of mankind that the records of those precedents must unavoidably swell to a very considerable bulk and must demand long and laborious study to acquire a competent knowledge of them. It sounds like this is, if a lawyer, if I say anything wrong, feel free to correct me. It sounds like this is basically outlining a concept called, in modern law, stare decisis. And Gorsuch talks about this when he wrote the opinion in the Chevron case, that there's a collective wisdom that can be spoken about, passed down from decision to decision to decision. That's why legal precedent exists. That's why the jurisprudence of a court exists and depends upon necessarily the decisions before them, because there is every judge before them has seen these decisions, made these decisions, and affirmed these decisions, and there's a wisdom passed down that you should pay attention to. It's important, right? It's those decisions as they pass down unavoidably swell to a very considerable bulk and must demand long and laborious study to acquire a competent knowledge of them. You probably have to study a long time, go to law school, do everything else to understand, like, all of the law that comes before you, right? Hence it is that there can be but few men in the society who will have sufficient skill in the laws to qualify them for the stations of judges. And making the proper deductions for the ordinary depravity of human nature, the number must be still smaller of those who unite the requisite integrity with the requisite knowledge. Not many people are going to be able to study enough to do this, basically. These considerations apprise us that the government can have no great option between fit character and that a temporary duration in office, which would naturally discourage such characters from quitting a lucrative line of practice to accept a seat on the bench, which would have a tendency to throw the administration of justice into hands less able and less well qualified to conduct it with utility and dignity. That if you've got if the terms are temporary, people just aren't going to quit their jobs to be Supreme Court justices, and there's going to be all this political shit, and it's just not. You're going to deprive yourself of the best talent, basically. In the present circumstances of this country, and in those in which it is likely to be for a long time to come, the disadvantages on the score would be greater than they may at first sight appear, but it must be confessed that they are far inferior to those which present themselves under the other aspects of this subject. You have a lot to lose by having not lifetime appointments, basically, and that as time goes on, you're really going to notice that. Upon the whole, there could be no room to doubt that the convention acted wisely in copying from the models of those constitutions which have established good behavior as the tenure of their judicial offices in point of duration. I think this means instead of duration, in point of, right? Or maybe when you talk about the duration, it's only because you have good behavior, not because you've got some appointed time, basically. And that so far from being blamable on this account, their plan would have been inexcusably defective if it had wanted this important feature of good government. The experience of Great Britain affords an illustrious comment on the excellence of the institution. Okay, there you go. So I made the statement, I'd read somewhere before that in Marbury v. Madison, when the court grants itself the ability for judicial review, it seems like that decision wasn't something that the framers originally envisioned. They'd only envisioned the court to basically have the final say in court cases. And then Pisco said, well, actually, in the Federalist Papers, the founding fathers did give arguments that seemed to point towards judicial review. And then someone in chat said, Federalist number 78. So this is Federalist 78. We read it. These are undeniably incredibly strong arguments for the concept of judicial review. I mean, blanket, right? The idea that you can say no to the legislature because it doesn't comport with the superior authority, the Constitution, right? Okay. There you go. All right. Okay, I'm going to go get ready for my show with Dan downstairs. What did I ask him? I think I asked him explicitly the Kamala Harris question. Curious what happens in big businesses. I call this... Oh, shit. I asked him about the second meeting maybe too.
Not doubting that they're out there, and I'm sure people interview them. That's a lot about those same series. This is the people you think...
Will it be live? Yeah.
We issues. It's just at
I do ask him. That's okay.
RFK.
What is this guy talking about? Okay. The Constantine dude is... Hold on. Going for a risky ratio here. Good luck. All right, I'm gonna go set up. I love you guys. Be careful. Yeah, I should be live in like 20 minutes. I love you. Bye.